Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the post-draft edition of the Chiefs Digest Live Q&A. I am Matt Derrick. Joining me a little later will be our friend Nick Jacobs, the NFL champion of the mock drafts this year. In case you did not hear it, yes, Nick had the best mock draft of anyone in the country. Nearly 1,600 mock drafts that they compiled over at Mock Draft Database, and he came out as the #1 predictor mock draft champion over there. Huddle Report does their own contest by invitation only, and Nick has been a part of that for the last 4 years, and he was the co-champion of that, along with one of the contributors at the Huddle Report. So outside the Huddle Report, Nick was he's clearly the consensus mock draft champion. So I'm very happy for him, very proud of him. That is getting first round predictions correct and identifying the players as they go into the draft. It's a passion of Nick's. He is very, very good at it. He watches a lot of film to break these players down and does an absolutely incredible job of it. I am very, very happy for him. His draft board of Chiefs fits was really good. Only had one player that the Chiefs took who was not one of his best fits, and his arguments and reasons on Jalen Royals made perfect sense to me, and I get it. And once again, your mileage may vary. We know nobody's perfect in the NFL. Teams make mistakes all the time. Chiefs have made mistakes. They're going to make more. Every team makes mistakes. Good teams just make fewer mistakes than everybody else. So I don't have a whole lot of comments tonight. I'm going to try and get straight to the questions as much as I can and let everybody out there drive the conversation. I was looking for hooray, it's Q&A day, but I do appreciate that you are excited for draft enthusiast Nick Jacobs to join the show. Very happy for him. He is absolutely amazing. And hey, Nikki, I wasn't early. I was 7:03. But you're early, so that's great. You got here before I did, so you're definitely early. So, and yeah, Charlie here, I guess one comment I will make just on the schedule, since Charlie said the countdown to OTAs is on. Chiefs have rookie minicamp this weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Only Saturday and Sunday will be open to media. So those are the only days that we are going to have anything from this weekend. Monday is going to be closed. It's usually just it's a fast day, the final day of rookie minicamp, because remember, most of the players that are in rookie minicamp are invitation only. And so those players are going to be getting on planes and getting out of town because they've got to get ready. Most of them are going to have another rookie minicamp invite the following weekend. If they, the rare few, usually there's only a handful, one or two, maybe sometimes zero players from a rookie minicamp get signed. Might even be tougher this year because the Chiefs don't have a lot of roster spots. They didn't sign a huge undrafted free agent class. They kind of went for quality over quantity this year as far as the undrafted free agents. So still can always be a tryout player who cracks through, but that's the majority of the players. So that's, like I said, that last day, it's what we always talk about it with the 10-10-10 practice. So it's 10 plays of offense, 10 plays of defense, 10 minutes of special teams, and then they get out of there. The rookies that are with the Chiefs, they go home too. They'll be out of the building for a couple of weeks. They don't come back until the second phase of OTAs begins in earnest. So just a couple of weeks they'll be gone, and then once they get back, then you're right, Charlie. Then OTAs are upon us. So you will. I always do my notebooks from rookie minicamp, so you will have that. A lot of content coming out of One Arrowhead Drive on Saturday and Sunday. Not as much on Monday. We'll just, at that point, wait to see if any of the rookies showed up enough to impress Brett Veach and his team and the coaching staff as well to earn a spot. And we'll get our first look at the rookies. And certainly probably won't get much of a look at Josh Simmons because he is not expected to participate in the rookie minicamp. He'll be in attendance. We will talk to him, is my understanding, but he won't be doing any work, it sounds like. They want to take it easy on him, wait and see. We'll see how much he gets done during OTAs as well. I don't expect him to do any teamwork in OTAs. What he would do would be position drills at most, but I'm not even sure if that. I think it's a lot more realistic that he probably sits out OTAs. Might even start in the tent up in St. Joe at the beginning of training camp. So we'll see when we get our first look at Josh Simmons, but I think it is going to be a little while. So go straight into the questions. And Scott had a super chat, so I'm going to go to Scott first. Since the Chiefs didn't use the fifth-year option on Karlaftis like McDuffie, does it mean they're closer to an extent? They did use the fifth-year option on Karlaftis, Scott. So they used the fifth-year option on both those guys, picked them both up. So, and I don't think that there's any indication really as far as whether they're closer to an extension over one or the other. I mean, and you might be referring to, I have not checked. Let's say, I was going to say, well, they're going to use, I guess I should say, the fifth-year option. I was looking just to make sure because I hadn't checked. I have been off the grid a little bit this afternoon on and off. I have not checked the transaction report today. Last time I checked, it was only the AM report was out. So I'm going to check that real quick. I'm assuming there's a possibility that the Chiefs just officially turned in the paperwork on Trent McDuffie, but maybe he didn't turn it in on George Karlaftis. And there's probably somebody already mentioning that in the comment section as I'm going to try and log in to to check the transaction report. Because there's certainly the Chiefs are intending to tag or to pick up the fifth-year option on both of them. And the only reason why you wouldn't is, I mean, if you got an extension with somebody done before May 1st, and pulling it up here and going through. Actually, I don't see either one of them. It looks like getting processed today. So, which is, I mean, completely on board because once again, they don't have to have it turned done until May 1st. So there is still plenty of time. The Chiefs have just notified the agents for both the players and the players themselves that they're going to pick up the fifth-year options. Let me check and see if there's one other place that there might be some information. But I mean, technically speaking, that the Chiefs haven't turned in either one yet. It hasn't appeared on the transaction report, but the Chiefs are picking up both the fifth-year options. So I don't think that there's any signs yet that you can really pick from to know whether the Chiefs are closer to an extension on one versus the other. I mean, I can tell you the priority one right now is Trey Smith and getting that deal done. Once you're done with Trey, then you move over to Trent and George and getting their deals done. I mean, I think it's going to be easier to get a deal done with McDuffie than Karlaftis, just simply because I don't think that the two sides are going to be very far apart. I think the Chiefs understand that what an extension for McDuffie is going to be. I mean, he's going to be one of the handful, 2, 3, 4, 5 highest paid corners in the league. He's going to be in that ballpark. It's going to have to be $25 million plus. The only reason a deal with McDuffie wouldn't get that done quickly is just simply if the Chiefs don't want to pay that. But I think that they do want it. I get the impression that they do want to keep Trent McDuffie long term. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge with Karlaftis because I could see right now there being a differentiation, a significant one between both sides of just what the value should be. I mean, if George Karlaftis and his agents are wanting to be one of the top paid defensive ends in the league, I need to see the sacks, and that's probably what Brett Veach and the Chiefs would say. So, if I'm George Karlaftis, I probably want to play out this season. I want to play it out and see, if he goes out and has a big year, if he has going out and 15 sacks, dude's going to make $25 million plus. That's a lot more money than the $15 million he's going to make in 2026. So, a good year. Let's put it this way: a good year for Trent McDuffie, a great year for Trent McDuffie, honestly, isn't going to change his value. The only thing that would change Trent McDuffie's value this year is an injury. And that's why if you're the player, there's a lot of reasons why I think you're Trent McDuffie. You've got some motivation to get a deal done. Karlaftis technically has kind of 2 contract years in front of him. If he goes out and has a great 2025, that's a great spot to try to negotiate with the Chiefs and get something done. If he has a bad year, hey, 2026, you got it. You can go back out and try and have another contract year. You got kind of two cracks at it if you're George Karlaftis. And because like I said, I mean, right now, would you be willing to make George Karlaftis one of the top 5 guys in his position in the league? I think that would be tough to do based on the body of work, but hey, play it out and you bet on yourself. We have seen plenty of players who have cashed in on that in the past. So, Chris, what is the point of draft grades if every team gets an A or a B? I tell you what, I don't do draft grades anymore. I mean, I'll talk about the players and, whether we think that they're good fits or bad fits, if they're value or not value. You kind of talk about that as far as, I mean, technically we don't know, because even as good as the draft boards are, as good as Nick is at predicting this stuff, we still don't know what goes in the heads of general managers around the league and what they want and what they're looking for. I mean, no, we haven't necessarily had someone that has fallen the way that Shedeur Sanders did this past weekend. And, that's going to be one that we're going to dissect for a while and people are going to be talking about for a long, long time. We talked about it last week. It was one of your questions that got brought up. If, there's been a player that there just has been such a dissenting viewpoints and varying viewpoints on a player at extremes. And it kind of played out this weekend that's exactly what happened. You saw some extreme viewpoints on Shedeur Sanders, and there probably were teams that thought he was a really, really good player. They just don't have need for a quarterback. So when you only have a handful of teams that are in the market for your services, and there's things that happen that changes your value to those teams, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in these interviews with Shedeur Sanders, so I don't know what he did or didn't do, what happened, didn't happen. But you get those situations. I mean, you can obviously have what happened to Shedeur. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. As more and more I've gotten to cover the league and everything. It's a crapshoot. I mean, all we're doing by giving grades out for drafts for the most part is just it's our own opinion of what they did. I mean, and that's great, but our opinions at this point on a draft class that never played down the NFL is that and $6 will get you a hot chocolate at Starbucks. So can't say that I am a tremendous fan of the grades, but hey, some people click on them and read them. And if you enjoy them, great. Feel free to. Yeah, Brian, you can't grade anybody till preseason. Coaches don't. Why should you? I mean, even then, I mean, your verdicts are still out in preseason. I mean, on some of these players, you're not going to have a good verdict on them for a couple of years. So, I mean, hey, 2023, it's been 2 years on Felix Endama, and I think we're still waiting for the grade to come in on that one. I mean, this is a prove it year for him. And some guys, it's year 3 before they really kick in. So, no, I mean, I think you have to have 3 or 4 years at least before you can really look at a draft class. I mean, you can have some early returns, but as far as giving grades, yeah, I have a hard time doing that until you get these guys on the field for a couple of years, until the pads come on, as Nick would say. Hey, Charlie, I am going to star your question for Nick so that I can fire that at him when he comes in. Chris with a follow-up question. What unit on paper is the weakest right now on the roster? Ooh, that is a tough question because, I mean, I generally like the constitution of this roster right now. I would say, I mean, going into the draft and based on how much improvement was done in the draft, I think I would still, if I'm Brett Veach, have concerns about defensive line and maybe specifically defensive tackle. Because I think you've got 2 one-techs on this team, 2 nose tackle run defenders. And one of them is Mike Pennell, Mike Pennell is old, bless his heart. Still a decent player, and he's going to give you some good snaps, but not 60, 70 snaps in a game. And Fabian Lovett, who we have never seen on the field in a regular season or postseason game. So I don't know where he's at. We're going to find out. We'll see how the Chiefs think of him and his development during OTAs. And then once the pads come on in August, we'll know for sure. But that's the area where if I'm Brett Veach, I'm thinking still might need a run defending defensive tackle, depending on just how much they do love Fabian Lovett. That would be the difference maker. But then you're only talking about having maybe two guys on this roster in that category. And then maybe there's going to be somebody from the undrafted free agent class that establishes that, but we really don't know about those guys yet. So that would be probably one area that I would circle. I mean, you can always have another pass rusher. Ashton Gelati is, I think, going to be a really good addition. That definitely deepens that group a little bit. But hey, if the Chiefs still brought in a veteran free agent or two, I wouldn't be surprised if it were on the defensive line. I think that's an area. And I mean, offensive line, are they there? I mean, probably. I don't know if there's anybody that you could bring in right now that would replace anybody that you got. Because let's face it, I mean, you've got your starting offensive tackles. You're not going to bring anybody in at this point that's better than what you've got at Jalen Moore and Jawan Taylor. I don't think you're going to be bringing anybody in who's more competition than what you got for that left guard spot. You're going to keep 9 or 10 offensive linemen. Is there anybody you could bring in that's going to be significantly better than the 9 or 10 that you could probably already have? I'm not sure. There's a huge upgrade there. So I would probably still say defensive line is the area that you're looking at. And I mean, corner could be a possibility, although I think they got plenty of bodies at corner. I mean, again, it's just a concern about your young guys and Nazi and Josh in particular. I mean, Jalen, if healthy, has kind of separated himself from those guys a little bit, but he's going to have to prove that he can stay healthy. I mean, I still think that they're okay there with the undrafted free agents and the competition that they brought in. I think they're okay. And once again, do you have anybody that you can bring in that's going to be better than what you have? Probably not. I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, Chris, I mean, I think defensive line is still the one that you would wonder about. Hey, is the running back room significantly improved? I mean, probably is between the two guys that you've added to that group. I think Brashard Smith, obviously, Nick and I are big fans of his. So I think it's going to be an improvement, and Elijah Mitchell should be an improvement. I'm going to stick with defensive line. It's my long answer, Chris. Nikki, do you think the Chiefs will use Smith as a hybrid receiver or wide receiver? I think they're going to stick with him at running back, Nikki. I really do. That's where obviously he showed a lot of talent, and and he can split out. I mean, there's no doubt you can use him in that role where you line him up in a lot of different places. He can definitely do that, and and he even did a little bit at SMU. So I don't think there's any concerns there about being able to use him in multiple roles. But if you think about him as just, what position group is he going to be in? I mean, he's going to be, I think, a running back. I don't get the sense that there's even any like splitting him or sharing him or having him in the wide receiver room. I think they want him to be a running back. And, and I get why he didn't want to go the direction I was. And it can be a completely true belief, that this isn't the case. But I thought it was really interesting that, Nick and I talked about the comparison between Brashard Smith and Tyreek Hill, because both of them are fairly much the same size, and both of them took opposite paths to the NFL. Tyreek was a running back who got moved to wide receiver. This is the exact opposite. Brashard Smith was a wide receiver who got moved to running back, although I think Ryan Nutt mentioned on Monday that he was actually a running back earlier in his career. Back in high school, he played running back as a youth. So, it's kind of a little bit of coming back home, and he's obviously shown a lot of talent there. And that's where the Chiefs need the explosion. They need the explosion in the backfield. They want somebody who can make big plays. And so that's where I think you are going to get Brashard Smith, and I'm definitely intrigued to see about what he can do back there. Alex, Brashard Smith is a Jerick McKinnon clone. I hope he makes the roster. In some respects, I would say he's a Jerick McKinnon clone. I mean, as far as speed, agility, breakout ability, all those things. And I'm talking like young Jerick McKinnon, not Jerick McKinnon that unfortunately had all the injuries and everything. I mean, Jerick was still fast in Kansas City. I think Brashard Smith is faster and more explosive than McKinnon was when he was in Kansas City. The one area where obviously if Brashard Smith is going to be a third down back, and that's how the Chiefs kind of talked about him. It's where his skill set, fits in, and especially if you're going to have veterans like Pacheco and Kareem Hunt and Elijah Mitchell is not a third down type back. I mean, he hasn't been a blocker or anything of that nature. Brashard Smith, that's where he's going to have to prove himself and pick himself up. I mean, if he can block, and that's tough to pick up as a rookie, and we'll see. We don't really have a good sense of what his blocking skills are and his read skills are, so we'll find out. But yeah, I think there's a lot of optimism there. How much Brashard Smith can be a Jerick McKinnon clone? I think in some ways in year one, yes, in some ways, no. If he's able to block and become a third down back this year, I mean, that's great. I think there's a lot more potential in him. But the Chiefs need to find somebody who can be that third down back, because I don't think it's Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Chiefs certainly hope that he can, add some punch to this offense, but he doesn't necessarily have the skill set and the blocking skills to be a third down back. We'll learn about Brashard, and if he's got it, and he's definitely going to play special teams, because that dude can run and he can return kicks, and he is absolutely this type, size, speed, skill set, everything that the Chiefs want in a return specialist, especially kick returns. So we'll see if he gets in there on punt returns, but for kick returns, for sure. And the Chiefs want some explosion there, because there are going to be more returns this year. With the kickoffs going to the 35, the Chiefs believe that everybody is going to be forcing returns. Nobody wants to have to touch that back to the 35. Last year, most returns were short of the 35. So the average return was short of that. So teams are going to be forcing returns because they think they can. That's going to be better than giving the team the ball at the 35. And Chiefs are going to return a lot of kicks, and Brashard Smith is probably going to be the guy who's first chance up to do exactly that. Zulu, are you still concerned about Simmons' knee? Yes. And if the Chiefs aren't, they should be. But I will tell you this, from everyone that I talked to this weekend about it, heard from this weekend about it, the Chiefs have done their due diligence. They absolutely did everything that they could. And I completely understand the thinking about it. And they don't have some, and I'll be flat out, I mean, Chiefs don't have some of the concerns that I do. I mean, I'm concerned about whether or not the kid can handle the pressure of that position on Mahomes, with the expectations of the left tackle in Kansas City. I think that's a lot to put on a kid coming off an injury. But the Chiefs, I mean, let's face it, the Chiefs are not necessarily counting on Josh Simmons to be their left tackle in 2025. I will go as far as to say that if Josh Simmons starts games at left tackle in 2025, it's because something has gone very, very wrong. Either Jawan Taylor has gotten hurt and the Chiefs need to move Jalen Moore over to the right tackle and feel like Josh Simmons is, if they feel like those are the two best tackles, Jalen Moore's moving the right tackle and Josh Simmons is starting on the left side. If Jalen Moore gets hurt, Josh Simmons is probably your first guy up if he's healthy. And third would be if Jalen Moore stinks. So something happens to Jawan Taylor, something happens to Jalen Moore, or Jalen Moore stinks. Those are the three reasons why Josh Simmons is starting at left tackle. And none of those are good things for the Chiefs. I mean, even if Josh Simmons came in and played lights out, those are still not good things that happen for the Chiefs. So, I mean, the best case scenario, honestly, for Josh Simmons this year would be, I mean, Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Let's put that first and foremost. Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Jawan Taylor, Jalen Moore stay healthy. Jalen Moore plays lights out. Great football. And next year you move Jalen Moore to right tackle to replace Jawan Taylor. And Josh Simmons starts at left tackle and is there for the next decade. I mean, that's the best case scenario, because if anything that Josh Simmons, if he gets pushed to having to play this year at left tackle and start this year, I mean, I feel like it's only going to be because something went terribly, terribly wrong. I mean, with the injury and that issue, I mean, he is still not 100%. He is not going to be out there for probably OTAs. even getting out there at the beginning of training camp, I mean, there's still a reasonable expectation that the Chiefs have that Josh Simmons is going to start on non-football injury. You sometimes see people say pop, but college injuries are technically considered non-injury since it didn't happen in the NFL. So typically players like that end up on non-football injury. It's not a seriously different definition and designation, but that's how I'm going to expect it to be until proven otherwise. I think that would be more likely. You have a lot more options as long as he doesn't do anything during OTAs and is able to enter camp with that NFI. If he has any setbacks of some sort, you still have so many more options with Josh Simmons in that spot if you take it easy on him during OTAs. And if he starts training camp not on the field and he starts taking it slow, then you're not going to take a rookie, no matter how good he is and what his reputation is and how good he looked last October. You're just not going to take that guy and plug him in at left tackle in week 1 with less than a full training camp. That's just insane. So, I mean, that's my only concern about taking Josh Simmons, Zulu. I mean, I had 2 of them. I mean, one is obviously you push him too much, too hard, too fast. The Chiefs do not sound like they're going to do that. The second concern is just how good is he? How much of 100% is he going to be? Being 100% of yourself after a patella tendon, especially in year 1, it's almost 0. He's not going to be as strong and as fast as he was last October at any point this season. That's just the reality of it. He is not going to trust that knee. He is not going to be as comfortable as he was in October. None of that. Any player on the planet will tell you that in the first year back from a major injury like that, they are not themselves. They are, I mean, you heard it from Charles Omenihu coming back. He told us flat out, he wasn't himself. He didn't feel as good. He didn't trust. It wasn't for him. I mean, and some players, I can understand not wanting to admit that you don't trust the knee, but Najee Johnson had to go through that same thing last year with just knowing that he's going to be able to push through it and trust the knee and all those things. Josh Simmons is not going to be the same dude that he was last October. It is just not going to happen this year. Is it more likely to happen in 2026? Absolutely. And I get why the Chiefs were willing to take him in the spot that they did and why they took the risk. Because is there a greater risk that Josh Simmons is not going to be the player that you expect? Out of all the first round picks, he's the one that has the least likely percentage of being what you expect. I mean, he has the biggest boom or bust percentage of any player in the first round. I mean, that's just a reality because of the injury situation. The catch is that his upside is all pro left tackle. That's a huge upside. And I can tell you from talking to people in the organization in my conversations over the weekend that the Chiefs believe that even if Josh Simmons isn't the same guy you saw in October, even if he is a percentage of himself, even if it's with their review of the knee, I mean, they feel like that he can be close. If it's not 100%, maybe it's 99, maybe it's 95, maybe it's 90, but they feel like that the baseline is that even if he is not a 100% of the guy that he was before the injury last October, that he can still be a very, very good player. And if that means that you end up with, honestly, I mean, if that means that you end up with a reliable left tackle for a decade and not an all-pro left tackle, that's fine. I mean, if you got Eric Fisher out of Josh Simmons, that's great. I mean, you haven't had Eric Fisher, it's 5 years. So getting back to that level of play for a decade would be great. I mean, he doesn't have to be Trent Williams for that to be a good pick. And if that's the case and that's who he becomes, fantastic. It's probably the right risk. It's not necessarily one that I would have made if I'm GM, but then again, I'm not a GM, I guess, for a reason. And Brett Veach is. He usually gets it right more than he gets it wrong. So I don't think it's a bad risk. I still, if I'm the Chiefs, I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I would have. And, hey, would I have tried to trade up for a Josh Connerly? That probably would have been, an option. Certainly, I'm with Brett Veach. I don't think it's something that you just punt on for another year. I mean, you had a player that you've got an incredibly good grade on, and if your medical staff that you trust is telling you that this guy is going to be okay, then go for it. So I have probably wasted way too much time the Q&A on the Josh Simmons question, but considering I've been the biggest Josh Simmons skeptic, I figured I better just tackle it head on. I'm not going to change my opinion on Josh Simmons. I still think it's a risk. I understand why Brett Veach and the Chiefs took that risk, and there's a good chance it pays off. There's no doubt. It could absolutely pay off. There's also a decent chance. I mean, what is it? I don't know. I mean, is it 20% that he might not work out? I don't know. But like I said, there's a greater chance of just Josh Simmons not working out because of the injury than anybody else taken in the first round. So there you go. Hallelujah. Where's the Tylenol? Thanks, Zulu. I hope you didn't take that as a jumping on you for the question or anything like that. I certainly didn't mean that. I just felt like since I have been the biggest Josh Simmons skeptic, I figured I just better tackle it head on and let you know where I think and kind of where it sets. So, hey, Joe, since you're asking specifically for Nick there, I'm going to flag you too and star you and bring it up when Nick gets here. Let's see where we got next on the questions. Yes, every team thinks that they had an A+ draft at this point. So if you tell them otherwise, I will say this. I mean, and I love Dane Brugler stuff, so I'm not going to jump all over Dane or anything. And I read his draft grade project after the draft, and the only thing that confused me a little bit because he had the Chiefs at like 16th as far as best drafts go, and the only thing that really made me curious there is that Chiefs drafted 7 players. 5 of them were in his top 100. The 6th, I mean, I think 11th defensive tackle was Ty Robinson. I think Josh Norman-Lott was next. He was like 12th or 13th. And Ty Robinson was, look at here, I think he was like 90. He was in the top 100 players. Maybe even higher than I thought. Well, I can't see him now where he was, but I'm pretty sure that Ty. Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? I may have been looking at Ty Hamill and thinking of Ty Robinson, but I mean, even still, I mean, Josh Norman-Lott was not very far outside of his top 100 players. So I'm kind of like, and Brashard Smith would be the other outlier, and I mean, the general consensus is that Brashard Smith was outstanding value in the 7th round. Nobody seemed to think that Brashard Smith was going to be around then. I mean, he was a 4th, 5th, or 6th on a lot of draft boards. So being available where he was in the 7th was pretty crazy to me. So I don't know why the Chiefs were quite so low on Dane's board. Post draft, I would have thought they'd be a little bit higher, but like I said, Dane does the best work in the world, so I'm not going to question Dane Brugler on anything when it comes to the draft. He is too good at it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Bobby. When are we getting the release of the rookie jersey numbers? And do you have any specific number predictions? Oh, I have no number predictions. I would never get that right. I mean, obviously you never go wrong with expecting a player to take his college number. If it's available, then, your best guess would be to go back and see what they wore in high school or a previous, because that's usually how it works. If it's not college number, then it's their high school number. There might be, hey, we saw McDuffy took 21 instead of 22. I mean, sometimes you get close to it. I'm trying to remember the math. I think it was CJ Hansen, since he didn't get 69, he got 61, I think, and then he had some sort of math on that about why it made sense for him. So I have no idea what numbers are going to get. I'm just expecting nobody to wear 0 because I don't think the Chiefs are going to give anybody 0. But usually the team puts out the players under contract. Usually it seems like late in the week. So Thursday or Friday, it feels like, maybe even Saturday morning might be the latest that the Chiefs would normally put that out there. We'll certainly get, and I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. That's why I'm trying to pop it out there. Probably an eyelash or something. but yeah, we'll get all of them for sure Saturday morning when they do put out the full roster of everybody with the undrafted free agents, and obviously those numbers can change once the roster shuffles begin. Those players, if their number wasn't available at first and then becomes available, they can always switch before the beginning of the season. But we'll get the rookies later this week, Bobby. If it's not in the next few days, then Saturday morning at the latest. But usually the Chiefs put it out on social media as a photo on a graphic sometime before the weekend. So I think we'll see that here pretty soon. Scott, if Simmons is healthy somehow this season and we see Taylor struggle early, could we see Jalen Moore move out to right tackle? Great question, Scott. I mean, and you if I had seen that earlier, I would have brought your question into the conversation on Zulu's question. Absolutely. That's the one thing you are not going to see is Josh Simmons play anything other than left tackle. That's all he's going to play. So he's going to be a left tackle. It's just a question, is he your number one left tackle, your number two left tackle, or number three left tackle? I mean, I think that Jawan Taylor would have to struggle significantly. And, you'll see some rotation. I mean, and assuming that Jawan Taylor is there for OTAs as a veteran, it's optional. He might not be out there for OTAs. If that's the case, you might see Jalen Moore rotate at right tackle and maybe some other guys get some snaps there at left tackle. I do get the sense that the Chiefs want Jalen Moore to be ready to play right tackle if needed. It's not where he's going to start, and he's not going to displace Jawan Taylor. I mean, I don't think that there's I think I would be very, very surprised if, Jawan Taylor just struggled so much that they moved Jalen Moore over and put Josh in there at left tackle. I think I guess it's one of the, you can add that to the 4 scenarios that could happen. But I don't think it's very likely, but is Jalen Moore a possibility at right tackle now or in the future in 2026 and still under contract for 2026? Absolutely. So, Suzanne, which of the undrafted free agents are you most excited about? Good question. I mean, I'll tell you what, I haven't looked at the undrafted free agents super close yet. I talked to a few people about who they are most excited about. And I know, Dalton Cooper is one that jumped out immediately. And looking to see here. Because I know, the Chiefs signed a couple of offensive linemen. Definitely some interest there. Like I said, the Chiefs did not sign as many undrafted free agents as they normally do. They definitely went for a little bit more quality versus quantity. I will say that, Cooper is a really interesting one to me. And I'm looking through a list, and I know sometimes you see guys who have signed who might be just on rookie camp invites, so don't always take it with that those guys that have to say that they're signed. Sometimes it gets a little confusing and murky this time of year about whether they are invited to a rookie camp or that they signed. I hear a lot of good things about Keziah Izzard, the defensive tackle from Penn State. The USC cornerback Jake Jacoby, I think it's Jacoby. I could be wrong on that. Covington, he could be interesting. There's some good things there. One I'm certainly most excited about is Jake Breeningstool from Clemson, the tight end. I think, especially if Jared Wiley is unavailable to begin the season, which it sounds like there's a chance that he might need a little bit more time for that knee injury of the ACL to be back all the way. I think he's got a serious chance to make this team, and especially if he could, any tight end who comes in and proves that they can block has got a chance to make this team. There's, I know it looks like they signed a Fresno State receiver, and there's another guy from Fresno State. I think it might have been the Texas A&M transfer. It's coming in. I think that could be interesting. Let's see. And with the Eddie Zaplicki, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong, but the punter from USC, That's interesting just because it's clearly some competition for Matt Araiza. I still think Matt Araiza is going to be the punter this year. Chiefs extended him for a reason. I mean, they like him, and so I fully expect that he's going to be the punter this year. They're just going to be better, than he was last year. And I understand, him being rusty, basically being out of football for 2 years almost, basically. So I understood, and I thought he was okay. Hey, was he inconsistent? Yes. Did he have some struggles maybe on some touch areas? Yes. Was it a lack of, ability? I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of it was just, I think there was a lot of rust there. I mean, I think there was just a little bit with his timing. So hey, it could very well. I mean, this kid could come in and compete for the job and maybe even win it from Ariza. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Ariza is still the overwhelming favorite to win that job, but this is definitely a case of, hey, in football talk, you want competition to bring out the best in people, and so the Chiefs are hoping that competition for Ariza will bring out the best in him. So. Great point, Azul. And this is what I always say about Felix is just that he is incredibly young. He was a late bloomer because, it wasn't that long ago that he was a skinny little high school kid. And he was pretty skinny and small when he arrived on the K-State campus and just bulked himself up during COVID. And he's still incredibly young. So third year breakout for Felix would not surprise me at all. Pepe. If Williams and Gelati both show promise, do you keep McDuffie, Karlaftis, or does one of them go? And I mean, I can't imagine McDuffie going anywhere. I mean, you identified him, you drafted him, you've developed him into one of the best corners in the league. I just have a hard time seeing him go anywhere. I mean, and once again, like Nick and I have talked about, I mean, if you're not going to sign Trent McDuffie long term, trade him, get picks back, because Trent McDuffie is a guy that you could actually get a ton of picks for. I mean, most of the time you're talking about trading a corner, you're talking about maybe getting a third round pick back, like you did with L'Jarius Sneed. And L'Jarius was a really good corner. He's not as good as Trent McDuffie, especially in the eyes of the NFL. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed was never all pro. So the reputation that McDuffie has got, he's injury-free, which helps too. He's younger, which helps too. Trent McDuffie has tremendous value. So if you're not going to sign Trent McDuffie long-term, you got to trade him next year. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, I mean, I can't, there's just no reason to let him walk and at best get back a third round comp pick for Trent McDuffie. You either sign him or trade him next year. And I mean, I hate to be that blunt, but I mean, and obviously there's the scenarios where you use the franchise tag and you can keep him for a couple of more years. But McDuffie to me is flat out keep or trade. If you don't have any interest in signing him, then try and get back as much as you possibly can for him, because he's got true elite value. Karlaftis, I mean, he and Gelati, they're the same player. Although Nick and I were talking about this. I mean, Nick will tell you that, yeah, they're the same player. Gelati is just better already. And that could be the case. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it would not surprise me if Gelati comes in and plays just as well as George, or maybe even better. He's got a lot of athleticism. This dude is smart as all get out. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I don't think that it's an either or, but in that scenario that you have there, Pepe, yeah, I mean, once again, the Chiefs can't keep everybody. They're going to have to draw the line at some point. If Null Williams and Ashton Gelati come in and ball, I would still want to sign Trent McDuffie, because you need two elite corners. And if you've got one that you're paying and one that's really cheap, great. If Gelati comes in and balls and becomes better than Karlaftis, then yeah, maybe Karlaftis is the guy you trade, unless you can get a reasonable deal done. But again, it's with what George Karlaftis has given you so far, are you ready to make him a $20 million player? I mean, Tershawn Williams just got $20 million pretty much. So it's a tough decision. Daniel, sorry, got something popped up and blocked. I had had something pop up and block the question there for a second. Just wanted to say that I love this draft. Every player fills a need. The player I like the most is Null Williams. Having a ball hawking corner in the secondary is going to help. What say you? Null Williams is an incredible value get. I mean, to me, being able to get an All-American corner in the 3rd round is crazy. And the Chiefs didn't have to give up a ton to move up to get him. I do understand. I mean, the way that the corner position was going, and Jacob Parrish went in the selection right before that, and I don't necessarily have any indication that Parrish was on the Chiefs board. I mean, I think he should have been, but Noel Williams is. I mean, he's an outstanding player. I get that the one knock on him is that he doesn't have the speed, but his tape and his performance and his production backs up the fact that he probably plays faster than his speed. He's a smart player, so his reaction probably makes up a little bit for the speed, but I just think he's absolute aces. So I think it's a great pick too. I'm with you there. Pepe, what's your favorite draft story this year? The reality of it so far is that I probably haven't heard it yet. Because we'll start getting better stories coming in, once the players get here and we get to talk to them and learn more about them and everything. I usually like to talk to the players. Speaking of the number question coming up early and what players or numbers are going to wearing, that's one question I always like to ask guys is, why do they wear the numbers that they do? And sometimes you get good stories there. I'll tell you, I think that probably the most interesting player that I'm interested in knowing more about, and the story so far is Ashton Gelati. This dude, he donated apparently most of his NIL money to charity. I mean, that's just ridiculously mature and generous and all those things. And even if the story's overblown, maybe it wasn't most. I mean, still, the fact that any dude is giving away their money, their NIL money to charity, gosh, that guy's got some genes in him and some things going on in his mind. It makes him a better person than I was. Cause I had a scholarship in college that I was making a little bit more money than it cost to go to college my first 2 years. And did I give my money to charity? No, I bought a Sega Genesis and some golf clubs. So he's a better dude than I am. So that's amazing to me. And I don't know if you saw it. I'm trying to remember. I want to say was it Omar? Maybe one of you saw it and will remember it. Which one of the Chiefs draft picks did his interview with us, his Zoom from a shopping mall, or what appeared to be. I've got to find out more there about how that went down. But like I said, Pepe, that's the great thing about the draft is that there will be stories, to come out, for years. And we're still learning some stories about Patrick's draft every once in a while that, some new nuggets that come out that are always interesting. So I think I had never heard the story before until a couple of weeks ago that Patrick went to go play a round of golf on draft day back in 2017. And he says he doesn't remember a single thing about that round of golf because his mind was just, elsewhere. And that's amazing because Patrick Mahomes remembers almost everything. I mean, he can tell you, not only, like shots and golf rounds and, and obviously plays from football games, and he can tell you about plays from practice, a couple of years ago. The dude remembers everything. And so the fact that he doesn't remember that round of golf tells you exactly where his mind was. Chris, what's the most disappointing KC draft pick to you? I'm not trying to dog on the question, Chris. I don't normally like to get into those kind of things because at this point, especially with the draft, we don't know enough about these players to say that something is disappointing. I can't even say that as much as a skeptic as I am about the Josh Simmons issue and the injury. And I'm not a skeptic of Josh Simmons' talent or anything of that nature. I'm just skeptic about the injury and how much it's going to affect him. I can't even call that the disappointment because if you're the Chiefs, that's a pick that could pay off for you. And I think there's good reasons for every single one of the other picks. If I'm only disappointed in one of the picks, Chris, it's just because, Nick didn't have Jalen Royals on his draft board and didn't get to go 7 for 7. I would have loved that for Nick. But yeah, too early to say if there's any pick that is disappointing to me. I mean, at this point, there's nobody I'm looking at in this draft and saying, well, geez, the Chiefs had no business drafting this person or this player. Either too much of a head case, too many red flags, any of that nature. No, there's nothing in this draft that jumps out to me. Adam, do you think Shedeur makes the Browns roster? This could, if I chose to, let me get onto a rant. I keep saying, and I am going to do it. It is on my list, and I've got a lot of things going on at Chiefs Digest that's good here in the next few weeks that I'm really excited about. But one of my things that I am actually finally going to do this, say off season, I'm going to do a piece written down, and I'm going to make it an annual thing about my 8 teams in the NFL who do not know what they're doing. And this draft was a case in point of the Cleveland Browns continuing to not know what they're doing. And I get some people are excited about their draft. I think it's great. The quarterbacks alone, those 2 selections are going to blow up that team. I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's not necessarily a wrong thing to take Shedeur. He might end up being a really good player. I don't know. But the Cleveland Browns spent 3 draft picks on quarterbacks this year. One was on Kenny Pickett, who is not good at all, and if was able to do anything, would still be in Pittsburgh. And you, as the Cleveland Browns, have not shown any ability whatsoever to develop a quarterback. So I don't know what. I mean, I get your coach has been a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year because he was able to take a terrible team and go 500 plus the next year. Don't even get me. That could get me on a whole other rant. But have 5 quarterbacks and one of them be Deshaun Foster. You think the perception in the NFL is that Shedeur Sanders has maturity issues, that there are character issues with Shedeur Sanders. And you're now going to put this guy on the same roster with Deshaun Watson. I don't care if Deshaun's hurt. I mean, unless you're the Cleveland Browns and you've already accepted the fact, hey, Deshaun, here's your money. We don't need to see you. We don't need you to come into the building. We don't to go do your rehab somewhere else. We'll pay for that too. Wherever you want to go, we'll pay for your rehab. Just don't come in the building. I mean, unless you're doing that with Deshaun Watson for the rest of the time that you're going to be paying him all of this ridiculous money that you guaranteed him, which is another reason why the Cleveland Browns do not know what they're doing. It gave out the worst contract in NFL history. But now you drafted 2 quarterbacks. You used a 3rd pick that you traded for a quarterback who was no good. So now you're going to try and develop 2 quarterbacks at the same time in a really short period of time, and at least enough to figure out which one's better than the other so that you're going to keep maybe 3 quarterbacks out of the 4 who are healthy. I mean, and the fact that, I mean, once again, oh my gosh, you're in an off season and you're in the NFL, you have reps for your starting quarterback. You have reps to get your backup ready to play if needed. You have a 3rd spot on your roster for a developmental project who is not going to get that many snaps, but so be it. And you got a 4th guy who's just there because you need 4 guys for practice. And I'm not even talking about the 11 on 11. I'm talking about the portion of practice where in training camp where you're doing receiver drills and you need 4 quarterbacks to throw so that you've got 2 and 2. So you got 2 quarterbacks on one field and 2 quarterbacks on the other, and they're throwing to receivers and groups at the same time. You have to produce the 4th quarterback in any NFL training camp is just there because they're there to facilitate the practice. So did you just draft someone to facilitate practice? That should be someone who is an undrafted free agent or an incredibly cheap minimum wage free agent that you're just going to pay some per diem to. It shouldn't be a guy that you're going to give a signing bonus to and maybe some guaranteed money, which you do with all your draft picks. I mean, it should be a guy who's making your per diem of like $150 a day that you give some hotel space to. And this is okay. There's my rant, and I got it. I wish Nick had been here for the rant because I think he would have been proud. But the Cleveland Browns, I can't imagine being a Browns fan because these people are infuriating, and Jimmy Haslam is infuriating. So. Whew, okay, this got me more hot and bothered than Josh Simmons ever did. So Pepe, what under the radar player are you thinking takes the biggest leap this year? Ooh, good question. I mean, I'm not necessarily betting on it. I mean, I say it, I keep saying it this way. I mean it this way. If um Felix Endama takes a big jump, it's this year. This is his chance. So, and this is I always felt like that it was more likely that if Felix was gonna, have the big breakout, year 3 was always the best year for him because he did just turn 23. So he's got some experience in that behind him. He's healthy. For all those reasons, this should be the year that he gets a chance to prove himself. So um he's at least the guy that I'm watching and really interested to see, what's next for him and if he's able to take that big step. I think this is his opportunity. I don't base this on anything that I've seen, just simply the fact that he's here and still working and fits a Chiefs need. I mean, Fabian Lovett, I'm going to watch a lot during training camp, and we'll see where he is during OTAs, but he's somebody. The other player that I'm really interested in seeing this is under the radar as far as a player that could take the jump that nobody's really thinking about or talking about. But I think, and I just want to check in that situation, make sure I haven't heard anything, out of character. But Tyquan Thornton, because this dude is fast as lightning. I mean, he should, in theory, be a perfect fit for the Chiefs offense. He never really seemed to fit in New England and never had, quarterback play to really help him out. And it seems like he's really a really good dude. I've had a chance to talk to him. He seems really smart. I really like what I've seen so far from Tyquan and the limited what we've been able to get out of him and see since he came in mid-season last year. Really interested to see him during OTAs and training camp to see if he's able to make a surprise bid for the roster. He's somebody that I think you're probably haven't heard much about. I mean, you just knew that he signed with the practice squad last year, but you probably don't know that much more about him. That's probably the best below the radar guy, under the radar guy that I think, just wonder if the Chiefs can figure out how to use this guy and really get something out of him. I'm looking to see if there's any other young guys that are kind of below the radar that I'm curious about and seeing what might happen. I mean, I'm not going to include like Jared Wiley's not under the radar. He just got hurt last year. BJ Thompson, I don't really consider him under the radar. He just had the health scare. And I mean, I'm obviously really interested to see where BJ's at. Rooting for him. I don't think you say how you couldn't root for him. He's a good dude. And I know he's been working hard trying to get his way back. So that's probably, I mean, as far as below the radar kind of guys go, I mean, that's probably, I think I'm going to put Tyquan Thornton at the top of my list because that's somebody who, like I said, I don't think a lot of people are talking about. I think he fits in well with the Chiefs. Just, see what he's got. And if he's with his speed, if he's able to fit in and to pick up this offense and work with Pat, he can do some things. Let's see. I think you kind of nailed it there, Pepe. Yeah, when you can't do either job, you're a tweener. When you can do both jobs, you're a hybrid. Not many of hybrids. There's a few. Chris Jones is a hybrid. He can do a lot of things. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Before I forget, while we're just looking for questions and everything, listen to Nikki. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe and like and all those things. Gary, appreciate you. Also, subscribing and hitting the like is still the best way to support the channel. He is absolutely right. And I try to be as little as an egotist as I can. So I oftentimes forget to ask you all that. But if everybody could, like and subscribe, that is the best way to help the channel. So thank you very much. Pepe got a lot of questions tonight, Pepe. Love it. Like I said, I said on Twitter, this is like my favorite show. This and, I mean, roster cut down is an adrenaline day. It's not necessarily my favorite because I hate the aspect of players losing their jobs and getting uprooted and all those things. So it's an emotional day. It's an adrenaline driven day. So I think it just stands out to me on those days, especially kind of there's so much going on. And sometimes, I mean, hey, adrenaline and busyness can sometimes in journalism get translated into memorable, if not, favorite. But post-draft, this live stream is quickly becoming like my favorite day of the year because you guys, all of you all have great questions. I love the discussion. It's a lot of fun. And when Nick gets here, it only just brings it up even more. But Pepe, who do you think the Chiefs missed on the draft that they were most disappointed not getting? Ooh, good question. Because I've heard a few players kind of in that board, in that list. Running back might be one of those lists. And let me bring up we'll go over I can go over to my ESPN tab that I've got open because I don't need it for what I was using it for anymore. Let's go. Going to go to positions and running back. Just make sure I can remember some of the names here. I think the Chiefs would have loved to have gotten Trevor Etienne. Etienne, I can never remember how to pronounce their names correctly. Etienne, I think that the Chiefs, they would have really liked to get Trevor. That's not a slide on Burchard. Because Burchard was right there. They had Burchard and Etienne and probably a couple other guys in that exact same category. So it was, and they were definitely obviously happy to get Burchard, especially where that they did. That's a player that I think it might be interesting just to circle and see, how that comes out because, the Chiefs could have traded up to try and get either Etienne or even get Burchard Smith earlier. That was a consideration in the 5th round that they could have done that. So wouldn't surprise me. But I think that's one player right there. That I know that the Chiefs had some interest in. Looking at where they kind of took Jalen Royals. I haven't heard necessarily of any big names there that they felt like that they missed out on. That Royals was the guy that they circled and kind of had in that ballpark. And there certainly, I'm sure, were other players that they were interested in, just not quite at that spot. They ended up getting the guy that they got. Let's see. And the Chiefs definitely were not disappointed to get Simmons. They did their due diligence, they did their homework. So the fact that he was available at 32 and the fact that they were able to get a free draft pick from Philadelphia for moving up and swapping spots with them, there was definitely a lot of conjecture that a team or two teams might have been interested in getting a linebacker at 31. And so that certainly helped the Chiefs out as being able to just get that free 5th pick. And they turned that free 5th pick into Jeff Bossa. Consensus considered one of the top 5 linebackers in this draft. And if you're the Chiefs, you basically got him for free for going down one spot and still getting the guy you were going to take at 31. Chiefs were still taking Josh Simmons. So, they got what they wanted there by making that move. So, hey, had Josh Simmons not been there, had he gone earlier, would the Chiefs maybe have wanted to get Josh Connerly? Maybe, but they kind of got what they wanted there. Defensive tackle might be one area because the Chiefs have even talked about that a little bit, that, Omar Norman Lott was kind of, a couple of between, I think, Mike Bradway and Ryan Nutt have kind of talked about it twice now, that Omar Norman Lott was kind of the bottom of their top tier. And then after that, was another group down. If not Norman Lott, then Shamar Turner is probably the one that the Chiefs wishes they probably could have got a hand on. And Turner going off the board, because remember, Norman Lott was the next pick. So there's no doubt. Those two guys were in the same pot. So I wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs kind of had those two guys' name, hand in hand. The Chiefs were taking one of them, had the Bears, and it's not a coincidence that the Bears took Shamar Turner, because that's just that's a Brett Veach draft board. Tennessee has a Brett Veach draft board with Morganzi in Tennessee. Carolina took some very chiefy guys with oh gosh, Brant out there. So Brant Tillis. So there are like 4, Brett Veach draft boards out there right now. And obviously the Bears took one of those guys with Turner going right in front of him with Norman Lott. So one of those 2 guys was going to end up being a Chief. It was basically whichever one the Bears didn't take. So and that's probably, I mean, the big ones. I mean, I'm trying to go look at edge real quick and see if there's anybody. Mike Green went, before Gelati, a few picks ahead of him. He was the last edge taken before Gelati, and I certainly hope that the Chiefs did not have any interest in him. I haven't heard that they did. I think Aladeo from UCLA was probably the one that was one that if had fallen a little bit further, maybe they even talk about trading up. But the Chiefs, they're super pleased with Ashton Gelati. So there's no one in this Chiefs draft class that they're disappointed that they got versus somebody else. I mean, are there a couple of players that is like, hey, this is maybe the player we wanted there, but we're certainly happy with what was the option number 2? Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything else that's, just like that the Chiefs were like really hoping this player, slipped to them and, went like, a whole round before they were ready to take him. I don't get the sense there's anything like that. There's a few players that were in a pot that, hey, if it had gone a different way, different direction, maybe they would have taken. Null Williams was, another guy that was really high on their draft board. So they were definitely interested in corner. And I feel like I did. I'm trying to remember. Like I said, I haven't necessarily heard that Jacob Parrish was specifically one of those guys, but he should have been on their board. I think there's probably some, interest in Darian Porter, Siobhan Ravel with East Carolina. I think there's probably a little bit of interest there. But again, I mean, I don't think that for the Chiefs, if you just played up the draft board the way that it unfolded for them, I don't think they would have changed it because they got guys that they liked at every single spot and are happy with the players that they picked up. So, I mean, even if you miss on some guys that you really, really liked, I think they're happy with it the way it unfolded at the spots that it unfolded. So I don't know if there's anybody that, and maybe I get a chance, without a microphone around to ask Brett Veach if there's anybody they're disappointed in not getting. But I think his answer would be that they're not, that there's nobody that they're really, really upset, and usually Brett will tell us or one of those guys will tell us, when there's something. I mean, I remember, he used to tell us a lot. Maybe this was probably back in 2018. I remember, I think it was Seattle took somebody in front of him that he really liked. And then, and so that was frustrating, but I think if there was anybody really, was disappointed and missed out on, I think you would have told us, and I certainly don't get that sense this year. There's anybody that they're like, oh man, because if they hadn't gotten Norman Lott, maybe there's that conversation, but they got Norman Lott, so they're okay with that. Susanna, are there ways that the Chiefs can get more creative with how they use Travis in this phase of his career? How do you see the room looking right now, adding to take some snaps away from Travis? And I mean, you hit on, Suzanne, something we've talked about here. I certainly have been talking about for a couple of years. And I think to their credit, the Chiefs have tried it, but circumstances have kept them from doing it, and Travis has kind of kept him from doing it, but he needs to play fewer snaps. I mean, that's just the reality. I mean, the dude's going to be 36 years old. Playing as many snaps as he is playing is just eroding his productivity, and I think he's had to start feeling it last year. He played 940 snaps though. I mean, that was quite a jump. I mean, it was like 170 snaps more from the year before when he had the injury, and obviously, didn't play in a couple of games that year. So, that's even discounting the fact that he played, a game less, his snaps per game went up in 2024, and that shouldn't be happening for a 35-year-old player who's going to be 36 this year. The creativity for the Chiefs of how they've got to use Travis this year has just got to be how they get him off the field, how they, take his numbers down so that instead of 900 snaps, maybe he's playing 700, maybe he's playing 600. You need Noah Gray to be able to pick up some snaps. You need someone that can block, that can be a blocker. I mean, no offense to Travis, no offense to Noah Gray, neither one of them are a block first tight end. So they could certainly use somebody who could come in and be a little bit more of a blocker. And they could certainly use some people who can take the weight off of Travis a little bit. And they've tried, I feel like they've tried to do that the last couple of years. Jared Wiley was going to be that dude last year until he got hurt. You know, Jody Fortson has been one of those guys, and he's had some injuries that affected him. I mean, you'd love for Noah Gray to, and I think he started to take that leap last year, and you started to see Noah Gray become a little bit more proficient. But again, I mean, he's not Travis in that big, 6'5", 240, 50, tight end that can push people around and be athletic. I mean, Noah's a little smaller, so he's not the big target that Travis is. And that's what you're hoping to find is can you get a 6'5", 250 tight end who can move? And yeah, I get Travis Kelce's a unicorn. There's not many of them, but you just need somebody who can help him out, get him off the field. And most importantly, make Travis feel like he can be off the field, that Patrick doesn't need him, and receiver staying healthy will help that, because I do feel like last year, certainly last year and even the year before, the Chiefs pushed Travis onto the field because they needed him. Travis also forced his way onto the field because he felt like Patrick needed him. And he needs to be able, the Chiefs just need somebody more. I mean, and more somebodies. It can't just be, Noah Gray. It needs to be Rashee Rice. It needs to be Xavier Worthy. It needs to be Hollywood. It needs to be Jalen Royals. It needs to be some guys that Travis feels like, okay, you know what? I don't have to be on the field for Patrick because he's got 4 or 5 dudes that he can trust. If you can get that and Travis feels comfortable being off the field, you can play him less and he's going to be more productive. So, I mean, the creativity, I think a little bit is just, it's more about luck. It's just that the Chiefs need to be healthy and they need Travis to be comfortable enough with the guys around him, and Patrick needs to be comfortable with the guys around him, that they're healthy and available, and, that Travis doesn't feel like, wait a minute, you know what? Patrick doesn't have anybody if he doesn't have me on the field. This year, if their wide receivers can stay healthy, they can develop their tight ends a little bit more. Maybe Jared Wiley gets back. You might have that this year. So, and if you do that, I mean, this is the crazy thing. I'll say this. This is my bold prediction, is that if Travis is able to play under 700 snaps and is healthy all season long, Chiefs are going to have a great offense, because that means that Travis didn't feel like he needed to be on the field all the time. Gabo, now that you say it, is it official already? The touchback is going to the 35 this year. It is official. That was one of the rule changes that the owners did pass back end of March, the very, very beginning of April. I can't remember whether it was March 30th, 31st, or April 1st. It was in that ballpark. But yeah, touchback's going to be going to the 35. And so that means it's definitely going to change the way that kickoffs are done this year. You're going to see a lot more returns, and and that's one of the things that, the Chiefs selected 2 or 3 guys that are potential returners, and Rashard Smith, chief amongst them, because they want to upgrade there. They want to be a little better. Remember, by the end of the season, they had Samaje Perine and Nico Remigio handling that, and Remigio did fine. They would love for there to be somebody faster than Remigio back there. Arguably, Perine's not back, so you need another returner back there. And Smith would be great. I mean, he's obviously, Brett Veach has talked about it before, that, and I think Dave Tobe has especially talked about it, that, you're probably looking for more of a running back type back there. I mean, the old Niall Davis returner would be perfect for the new kickoff return rule. That's kind of what you need. Rashard Smith's that. So I fully expect Rashard Smith to be one of your kick returners this year, especially because of that, because the kickoff return is the touchback is going to the 35. And teams do not want to give the ball to people at the 35. That's just a bridge too far. The 30 was fine. 35, apparently not so much. Well, Brian, I think that, I think Nick and I are the only ones really, starting the, bring Bill Bedenbaugh to Kansas City. So I think we're responsible for all of that terror. Charlie, do you think it's more probable that they put Simmons at right tackle if they need to pull Taylor? I'm pretty convinced the Chiefs view Josh Simmons as strictly sticking him at left tackle. I think they want to develop him there. I don't think they want to put anything else in his head. If anything happened to Juwan Taylor, I think they would look elsewhere for that, whether it's, moving Jalen Moore over, whether it's Wanye, someone else, if, they end up being the left tackle, being the swing tackle. I mean, I think that's where your roster construction was looking at right now would be, you've got Jalen Moore, you've got Juwan Taylor, you've got Josh Simmons, who's there until he's ready, which could be this year, could be next year, and then you're going to have a swing tackle. And right now, I'd say Wanye is in the right front for that position. Ethan Driscoll could be challenging for that, certainly will. Chiefs brought in a couple of undrafted free agents that may compete for that too. So there'll be plenty of competition there. Jesus, yes, I promise you. I mean, and I shouldn't say that it's going to happen because Nick is in the green room shaking his head. I am going to get the Q&A on a podcast audio version sometime soon. I keep promising you that, of all people, and you're going to be the first person that knows about it, because I'm going to send you a direct message to make sure that you know about it the day that it happens. So it will happen sooner than later. I promise, Jesus. I mean, part of it is I have to get off my butt, get it done. Two, there's some other things going on with the Chiefs Digest, with the site that I'm trying to get fixed up to. So hopefully during the off season, there's going to be some changes, and one of them is going to be getting the Q&A on the podcast. So I'm going to do my best. Brian, not all of these picks are going to succeed. Which one worries you that has a Sky Moore or a Boodle? Well, Boodle wasn't even a draft pick, Brian, so it'll be too hard in DiCaprio Boodle. I mean, I'm way too early in the process to even begin to have a prediction like that. I mean, you didn't even have a prediction like that about Sky at this point. I mean, there were legitimate questions and concerns about, Sky just coming from a smaller conference and everything. But Jalen Royals might be in that category, but it's too early to have any questions or concerns. So nothing right now. Chris, which undrafted free agent are you most excited to get a look at in camp? Brenning Stool from Clemson, the tight end, like I said, is my guy I'm most interested in. That's the one I think is the really intriguing. There's a couple of different players, and I know the Chiefs. I mean, any of the undrafted free agents are usually excited about, but I know that the two offensive linemen that they signed that they're interested in, the defensive tackle they're interested in from Penn State. So there's quite a few names, but to me, Brenning Stool is going to be the one that from Clemson, the tight end, the one that I'm interested in the most. Maybe Nick will tell us which one he's interested in the most.
Hey, let's go to 819. Let's go to Pepe at 819.
Nick is already directing. I love it.
Pepe at 819.
I have to scroll and refresh.
This will be for you, Pepe.
See, there's a bunch of Pepes. At 819.
There's only one at 819. There we go. I want to show Pepe some love. This song's for you. Good evening. Hey, 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 hater. Good evening. Hey, 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 hater.
Pepe's not a hater.
That's exactly what he is.
No, don't be a nobody hates Nick.
So Nick, he wanted attention. We gave him attention.
Nick is the consensus mock draft champion, people.
Doesn't matter, Matt. There's always going to be haters out there, and Pepe in the comment section is one of them.
Well, we got a lot to deal with tonight, Nick. Do you have any thoughts? Anything you want to get off your chest before we start?
I already started the party.
You already got what you needed to off your chest. You will not be surprised that I'm only to 732 right now, mostly because I think it's pretty much entirely because I did a Josh Simmons rant, and then I did a Cleveland Browns quarterback rant.
Okay.
So that's entirely my fault. But I pick up right here with Chris. Do you have any of the undrafted free agents that you're most excited to get a look at?
Jake Brenning Stool out of Clemson. We'll see if that's how his name's pronounced, because some people claim it's Brain Stool. So we'll see. But anyways, Jake's obviously number one on the list. I'm curious to see how he does down the road. But that's going to be months and months in advance.
There you go. Yep, because it's until the pads come on.
Yep. So I know some people in the comment sections were celebrating that the draft is over and the speculation is ending. That's all the offseason is. It's speculation. It's what hypothetical situation can we talk about until August.
Yeah, there you go. Zulu wants to know what I'm drinking. That as almost always is Milo's iced tea. So if the fine folks at Milo's iced tea, I think they start tagging them or something. So maybe they'll start advertising on the podcast, Nick, because I mean, let's face it, this show is powered by Sport Coffee and Milo's iced tea most of the time.
And haters.
Oh, forgot to mention the haters. Of course, the haters.
Yeah, the haters.
Non-hater Charlie had a question specifically for you. Upon post-draft review of the draftees, what were your biggest misconceptions of a player pre-draft, good or bad, if any?
I haven't thought about it, so I don't understand what misconception would be on that front.
I can understand that. I guess I was just thinking, is there any player that maybe, I think what he's going for here is that maybe you have a different view now than you did going into the draft.
No, I mean, the tape's the tape. So, I mean, whatever they put on tape's what the tape is.
Well, like, do you consider you going back and like thinking or looking or reevaluating like Jalen Rose was the only guy not on your draft board for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think about going back, or you look back at that and say like, oh, okay, wait a minute, I see what Brett Veach liked here. Like, I still don't like it, but I see what he liked.
I mean, look, what he put on coach's film is, he looked slow because of the foot injury. So whenever I saw him, he didn't have the burst that matched what he did at the combine. So I make a board purely off tape, got 6 to 7 right, got the mock draft accurate, and got 2 of the draft picks in my mock draft that the Chiefs ended up taking in one of their undrafted free agents. So
nailed it. Also another question for Nick. Eventual replacements: Omar Lott for Wharton, Gelati for Dana, Williams for Watson. Which one of these do you feel most confident in? Which one the least?
All right, I'm about to read this word problem here.
Of the 3 basically swap outs.
I mean, look, Omar Lott look, what they did in college doesn't matter anymore. So what happens in August is what we'll start taking in reality when that time comes. So I don't know if Gelati is necessarily a replacement for Dana because everybody keeps comparing him to Karlaftis. So, I mean, we'll see what happens over the next couple of years in terms of Karlaftis' contract and what Gelati ends up doing. And let's see. Williams for Watson. I think that cornerback spot's pretty hazy right now because we're not sure how Fulton, Watson, and Williams are all going to be utilized and executed. In terms of what is McDuffy going to work inside? Is he going to work outside? Who's going to work outside of the left side? Who's going to work outside of the right side? So that's one of those magic 8-ball things where you say, we'll see down the road. All currently hazy, or try back again, or whatever the magic 8-ball says.
Yeah, I have to admit, I have a deadline tonight, Nick, that I have to finish up after the stream tonight. That is for a guide that comes out later in the year, and so I have to project right now who the starting lineup is going to be, and I've got 3 positions on the defense that I'm not entirely sure about.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions between now and August. So, yeah, we will attempt to answer all the hypotheticals along the way.
We will.
It is, unless I don't come back to the Q&A, which Pepe would prefer.
Joe's next question I love because it gets into a transition that we talked about we were going to do tonight on the pod, Nick, and the live stream. Which AFC team improved the most through the draft? And I'm even prepared with graphics. I mean, not like sophisticated graphics because all I did was steal them from ESPN.
Oh, hey.
They're screen grabs. But I'm sure with the acknowledgement that, hey, they're from ESPN, I'm sure that they will love it. Now I just have to remember how to present them. And we will start with the Denver Broncos. So there you have the Denver Broncos draft class.
Yeah, I was surprised they took a corner in the first. I thought they were going to do more to support Bo Nix early on, but they're adding to their defense because they want to slow down the Chiefs, the Chargers, and maybe the Raiders. I don't know. We'll see how explosive their attack is. And then they got their running back, who they probably consider their dynamic running back, in RJ Harvey. We'll see how that works out in their offense, and we'll see what Pat Bryant can do as a receiver. And then it seems like they went pretty heavy on defense, and then they got a tight end late. I know with I know they have Evan Ingram on the roster and everything, but I really thought they were going to be more serious about getting a tight end earlier. And it'll be interesting to see how RJ Harvey, how he holds up in the NFL, because getting him at that point, I was a little surprised that they took him at that spot. Late third, I would have gotten fourth. Totally would have gotten late second. I mean, they clearly were a big fan of his, and they were not going to take any chances.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I found the Broncos draft kind of underwhelming because I was a little surprised they went corner in the first round, like a lot of people. I mean, I didn't see many projections that had them going corner. Almost everything I saw had them going offense, and particularly a playmaker, whether running back. I mean, and let's face it. I mean, Marion Hampton was still available at that point. And that was a guy that was maybe projected to the Broncos quite a few times. I thought they'd go a different direction there, but maybe they also had a tight end projected to them in the first round a lot, and both those guys were gone early, so maybe that affected things. But I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed by this year's draft, by this Broncos draft class, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we'll see.
I've been wrong before, Nick, so won't be the first time.
Don't worry, Matt. We all have.
Well, let's see. Oh, running the Raiders. It's cutting off Ashton Gente at the very top of the screen, but there's the Raiders draft class, and I mean, I'm much more impressed with this draft class, Nick.
I mean, they're strong at the top three with running back, and then what Beck can be as a receiver, and what Porter will be physically as a corner in terms of presence. I mean, they got some developmental offensive linemen there in the third. They got their speed receiver, Dante Thornton. That would be the equivalent of Jalen Hyatt with the Giants, that can run the vertical route, maybe not necessarily the whole route tree, and kind of hopefully take some defenders deep with him on his routes. We'll see what Hemingway is going to be defensive tackle-wise, but him and Pegasus both fit kind of that Seahawks kind of style. And then I'm not sure what they'll have there in their final 2 6-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I kind of like Dante Thornton better than the receiver that the Broncos got in the second round. But I mean, top 2 picks pretty solid. I mean, Gente, if he can hold up and stand up, he's going to be a fine player. And Beck's obviously pretty well rounded. Darian Porter, I think, was a really good pick. So, and then you get a couple of developmental offensive linemen, like you said. I mean, I don't hate this draft, Nick. I mean, I mean, to me, I feel like it's the best Raiders draft I've seen in a long time, but that's also just reflective of the fact that the Raiders have had some pretty terrible drafts over the years.
They have struggled from time to time, but they did get Brock Bowers last year.
Well, occasionally they do get their first round pick right, because they are drafting pretty high in the first round a lot. But
you still pick the wrong player.
Then
give them credit.
Yeah, then sometimes they drop off a little bit. But yeah, they've had a couple of they're moving in the right direction, unfortunately. And then we go over to the Chargers, who I feel like also had a pretty good draft.
Chargers had the best draft of the 3 AFC West opponents. Hampton gives them that power running back that Harbaugh would like, and reliable, chance to be an explosive running back. He'll be huge for Justin Herbert and not putting it all on him to have to try to carry an offense. Then Trey Harris gives them that big-bodied receiver that they can kind of pair with Mike Williams and Ladd McConkey. That one was huge. Caldwell gives them, I don't know, I'm intrigued to see if they're going to use him as a nose tackle or if they're going to use him as a 5-tech. My assumption would be they use him as a nose tackle, and they get the the first piece of their rebuilt pass rush down the road here in their front 7, and then Kennard gives them another kind of edge rusher off the end to kind of slowly help them replace Joey Bosa. Lambert Smith I liked as a receiver, so I had him on the board, and I think he would be a quality individual. Developmental wise down the road, Gatson is a fantastic pick there in the 5th. He's the athletic tight end that they needed, and they were able to get him. They'll have a smart, savvy safety there, and R.J. Mickens. He's the son. If I remember correctly, he's the son of the former Jets. I remember him playing for the Jets a long time ago.
Yes.
So he will, and then we'll see on Taylor and Bridges. But yeah, Mickens I think he'll be a sneaky good pick in that zone coverage that Miners has.
Yeah, I like the Chargers draft too. I think those first 4 picks were really solid. Hampton's should really help out that offense and help out Herbert and not have to put as much on his shoulders. I like Kyle Kennard. I think that was a sneaky good pick in the 4th round, and I'm with you on Aronde Gadsden. I mean, usually go wrong, and Mickens is another one. You usually can't go wrong with getting guys that come from NFL pedigrees. So, and I was a big fan. I liked Aronde Gadsden the 1st. So I was old enough to watch him play, Nick. So have to remember how to remove things. Ha ha ha. And then there we are again. And let's see. No, I've never prank called a player. I would never do that. And anybody who does anything like this, Nick, I mean, any of you, you don't call team hotels and, try and get players' rooms and on the teams are on the road. You don't, pull fire alarms and all that nonsense. Hate all that stuff, Nick. We're trying to have a civilization here.
Okay. Cool.
Everybody is with us. They're joining the Jake Braining Stool bandwagon. Oh, 742, Nick. Check it out and make sure that is just a statement from Pano and not a question. I say that with love, Pano.
That was a total statement.
Alex, the year is 2009. The Steelers versus the Chiefs are tied in overtime. Matt Castle throws to number 84, and he takes it 60 yards to set up a suck-up field goal. Who was 84? I have no idea. I cannot remember that for the life of me.
It should be Chris Chambers.
Oh, yeah. I bet you're right. Was Alex? I mean, I have to scroll down to see if that's correct because you asked that question. It may not be here anymore, Alex, because that question was an hour ago.
I'll pull up the 09 Chiefs, but it's probably Chris Chambers.
Oh, dear. I am down there, looking to see if there's any refresh and everything like that. And I could also go look it up myself and just make sure. But that sounds he wore 84, so that would be correct. So I'm going to bank on if it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Nick was my phone a friend, I would be going with Nick at this point. This is a good question for you, Nick. Do you think Royals is going to be a better pick over the Stanford receiver whose name I cannot pronounce?
Hold on, let me find I'm working on the roster thing right now.
You answer this, I'll work on the roster because I have Pro Football Reference open.
Oh, it's Bobby Ingram.
Oh, is it Bobby Ingram? Wow.
Yeah, Chris Chambers wore 11.
Oh, I would have thought
with the Dolphins.
I would have thought. I mean, I envisioned him wearing 84 with the Chiefs too. So, all right, I would have lost $1 million, Nick. Thanks.
Do I think Royals going to be a better wide receiver than Stanford kid? I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend that I was doing, when I watched both of them, I just saw guys that had a lot of contested catches. So, I mean, Royals, I think, is probably in a little bit better position, and he can learn from Rice, and he can be here with Mahomes and Kelsey. So, I mean, he has the opportunity. We'll see how it shakes out.
With Tyree's question, which UDFA do you think will make the team? Are we with Braining Stool here too?
Yeah, I think he's gonna have the best opportunity, but the rest of the guys, we'll find out in August, man.
There you go.
You got to let the guys put the pads on and let them compete, and that's when that'll happen. So that's when we can start actually getting a legitimate chance to be able to answer that question without just purely guessing based off what they did in college.
There you go. Pano with the question, why in the world didn't Veach grab Ty Robinson instead of Norman Lott? He gave up another TJ Watt Crosby mentality. Lott isn't even an every down player. Plus he's got character issues. Ugh. I mean, we were obviously unabashed Ty Robinson fans, Nick, so maybe we're not the best people to ask, but I mean, I get the sense that it just came down to Veach just wanted a different player at that spot, a different type of player at that spot.
Yeah, I think they went with what they thought was going to give in their book was going to give him the better pass rush, and Howie said, "I'll take him then."
Yeah, and if Howie Roseman takes a player, then you know that player is good. So Howie doesn't get a lot of things wrong. Brian, out of the 19 new guys, how many stick to at least the practice squad? I mean, you're hoping all your draft picks make the roster, but
yeah, I mean, all the draft picks should make the roster, and then we'll see. You're hoping to get a couple UDFAs, 2 or 3 if you can, but in terms, I'm talking about on 53, but practice squad, who knows right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of turnover. I mean, after rookie mini camp, it'll be probably as usual 2 or 3 of your undrafted free agents that you're like, this isn't the player we thought, and we like this guy better too. Let's give him a shot. So there'll be a little bit of shuffling, but again, hard to say, Brian, until the pads come on. I should have just given that to you for the layup.
Sorry, don't worry. We got a bunch of Royals questions down here, and I'm not talking about the baseball team. People want me to change my opinion.
Did Nick call Brett Veach in the 7th round to tell him to pick Brashard Smith already?
No, we did not.
He did not. But there were two separate celebrations in Kansas City in 2 different forms when Chiefs took Brashard Smith, because influenced by Nick, of course, I'd been pounding the table for Brashard Smith all day long on Saturday, expecting that the Chiefs were going to take Brashard Smith at every single pick. So everybody in the media workroom knew exactly where I stood. And Nick tweeted out a panda video, a GIF. So you know how Nick felt. See, people were at least listening and I think hopefully entertained by my rants earlier, Nick. So,
well, that's good. I'm proud of you. Look at you out here.
Since Brian asked it, and I'm disqualifying myself from this question because everybody's heard me talk about Josh Simmons and nobody needs to hear it anymore. Has anybody qualified support for the Simmons gamble that isn't paid by the Chiefs? Realistically, what chance does he stand of being able to get back to all pro? Do you have any thoughts you would like to share, Nick?
I mean, it's not a question I can be able to answer for you because I'm not a medical professional that can tell you definitively what he will or won't be. Like if he will or won't be able to come back from what he was before that. So I have no idea. Look, the Chiefs went out. Everybody's wanted them to take a chance at tackle. They went out and took a chance at tackle. They took a swing on a guy who could be a top 15 pick if he's healthy, and an opportunity presented itself where they can take him based on, the potential if everything works out right. So the Chiefs took the swing in a spot where they could, got an additional 5th round pick for it that turned into a linebacker that's very athletic and very smart, and that may help them on 2 different fronts. But we'll see how it happens over the next 2 to 3 years and if that ends up working out or not. Look, as Matt and I talked about last week, the Chiefs were going to do their due diligence on everything. They were going to look at everything. They were going to project, and then they were going to make a decision about if they felt comfortable with it. Clearly, everybody in that organization who was a part of the decision-making process felt comfortable with it. Otherwise, they don't make that play. They go with a different tackle or they go at a different position. So, I mean, time will tell. Like the Chiefs, I know the Chiefs are probably hoping for the best, and they're going to do everything they can to set him up for success and let him hopefully be the long-term franchise left tackle at that spot. And, we'll take it day by day.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. I agree with everything you said. And I also agree that Nicky could draft better than the Browns. But
I have no doubt.
There's probably a couple of other teams that Nicky could probably draft better for than the Browns. So not just the Browns.
I still have no doubt.
The personal development mentor wants to know: are you worried about left guard?
I mean, you just gotta let Kingsley develop. Gotta let him develop, and then you got Hunter Norzad as a potential possibility there. And if they want to try Mike Caliendo at that spot, they've got numbers, they've got players that they can all try at that position. So you worry more about tackle for somebody that's on an island than you do about guard, because you're going to be solid at center and right guard. Well, you're going to be more than solid at center and right guard. You just need to be proficient or solid at left guard. So I understand everybody loves Joe Tooney. Everybody's big fans of his and everything, but Joe wasn't the same after the pectoral injury. And I said that time and time again on the podcast, said that time and time again on the Q&A. You could see there was a little he didn't have the same strength. And the year before that, you could kind of see he could get walked back a little bit more by some of the stronger rushers that he normally wouldn't have in the past. So, I mean, there was little inklings that even though he's an all-pro Hall of Fame guard, that there was just little inklings that Father Time was starting to catch up with him in various points, and there wasn't anything they were going to be able to do about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I feel like the Chiefs do have numbers there. I think Kingsley's going to get the first shot because he's the first round draft pick, and it's the guy that they like, and they feel like that if he didn't work out at tackle, his position was being a guard and a high end guard. If he doesn't work out, Caliendo is at least replacement level. I mean, he can do it for you. I think Norzad has upside. I mean, if he applies himself, and I'd love to see him go to work out with Duke Manyweather and come back and see what he can do. But if he applies himself, I mean, I think he can be just as good as one of those guys. So, I mean, if one of those guys fails or gets hurt, I mean, they do have numbers there. So I'm not that worried. My only really worried there is probably just finding the right guy chemistry wise, and that it's somebody who can work well with both Creed on one side and Jalen Moore on the other, and that you can team together. But then again, that requires a little bit of coaching. So,
Julia, you're right. It doesn't matter until the pads come on. Crushed it.
We got to start working on some t-shirts. I'm just saying.
You're always trying to cost me more money, man.
No, you would get a free t-shirt, man.
Who's gonna pay for these t-shirts, Matt?
I would buy your t-shirt.
Okay.
Is it Shamar Stewart or Shamar Turner that I'm thinking of that would have been there, Nick?
Turner was there. There's a bunch of guys. I'm saying they were at Texas A&M, and there's 3 different guys at A&M, and
gosh, yes, there were. But now Turner was the guy who went right before Norman Lott, right?
I'm gonna pull. Yes, Turner, if I remember correctly, went right before him. But then you got Nick Scorton, and then you got Shamar Stewart. So like there was 2 Shamars and a Scorton. When people kept bringing them up, it wasn't the easiest thing to.
It's not. And yeah, because I'm even like, wait a minute. Am I blanking here? You're right. There was too many Shamars and too many Turners and too many everythings. But that one, I mean, at least that's a serious, legitimate question there, because those 2 guys went back to back.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shamar Turner would have been a little bit higher if the opportunity had presented itself, but it did not. And so the Chiefs took the next player on their board, more than likely.
There you go. I mean, it was, and I mentioned this earlier, Nick. I mean, to me, it's no coincidence that the Bears took Shamar Turner right in front of the Chiefs, because they have probably the same draft board as Chiefs have.
Yeah, whether it's the Bears, the Colts, the Titans, the Chiefs, and to a certain extent the Lions,
even the Panthers.
All those guys have similar boards. Well, and luckily you got Dan Morgan, a GM with the Panthers, so he does enough to make it different. So unless Brant Tillis is the captain of that board.
I need to develop more how to multitask.
Well, the Q&A each week will give you plenty of opportunities.
It is
You will not lack for reps on
it. We've been doing this Tuesday night Q&A. How long, Nick? Like 2 years now?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think this was the first time that I thought to myself, you know what? I really need to start reading ahead while Nick is talking just to get to the next question.
Look at that. Becoming a producer already.
Brian, should Veach have gotten up to the top half of the second round in your opinion? The bulk of the good names were there, including Burden. I mean, if you did, you're not getting somebody in this draft. I mean, you're letting go of one of your third or your fourth round picks. And honestly, Nick, I like their third and fourth round picks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the only way you're doing that, Brian, is if you trade back from 31. Like that's how you're staying in that range. Like you're gonna have to get, like Matt said, you're gonna have to get more third and fourth round picks, whether that's comp or trading players, to be able to maneuver around there in the second round wherever you feel like.
There you go. Pepe, did you always want to be a sports reporter, and who in your life was most influential in you becoming a reporter? I mean, for me, Nick, I actually did. I mean, I wanted to be I wrote my first story for in sports, my first official one, as I've often told before, was the 1980 Super Bowl between the Raiders and the Eagles. I wrote my gamer, and then read it out loud and delivered it to my family. So I was like 8 when but even before that, I was playing like Nerf football and Nerf baseball and Nerf basketball in the house, and doing play-by-play and keeping stats and records of all the games. Even though I was an only child, so I was playing by myself. So that's how I did. Although I will have to say that probably my most influential mentor of all the people I've had, my high school media teacher, Dave Davis, Hillcrest Television Magazine down in Springfield, Missouri. Shout out. Best program in the nation. Any thoughts, Nick? We talked about this too a little bit.
No, Pepe burned his bridge with me for tonight.
Pepe, I normally would defend you, but Nick's got a valid point there about that.
Like you don't get to disrespect me and then think just nice and answer your question.
Now, we have talked about this a little bit before, Nick, but it's Q&A night, so we try to be a man of the people and answer all the questions. Do you think Andy Reid will make a coaching change if things fall apart on the offensive line again?
How dare you not recognize how fantastic that name is? John S. in Idaho calls in. I'd love that. Tip of the cap, John. No, not this year. Like, if Andy makes any changes, it would be an off-season thing, and I'll believe it when I see it in terms of a coaching change. I'm just being honest about that. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. So I wouldn't get your hopes up. And Brian, I know you bring it up every week, but you better kick that can down the road till February 2026. And even then, you may be kicking that can even further.
If the offensive line struggles this year, the questions are going to get a little more persistent and a little louder. And Andy Reid's going to have to answer them.
Here's where and I'm not wishing this, I'm not asking for this, I don't want this, but once Josh Simmons is on the field, if there are struggles down the road, and I'm talking like maybe a year down the road or something, not this year, then I think people are going to really start to ask questions then, because you can chalk it up to health in 2025, but if it's like August or September of 2026 or October, November, whatever, then that's when I think things are that's when there may be some things. But I'm just letting you guys know I'm not talking about it every week. Like, I'm not. I already moved on from it a couple months ago.
And at some point, I'm going to start becoming a better producer and being more discerning on the questions. And no offense to the questions, because sometimes I know it might be your only time that you tuned in and you're asking a question and not realizing that we do talk about it every week. But I don't want. I want to be a better producer for Nick. Nick deserves.
No, it's not that. It's just I just don't want to hit the same topic every single week, is that's how people get tired, like they got tired of the Shedeur Sanders coverage because they just relentlessly talked about it for 3 days straight. Like if I was their producer on that, I'd be like, hey guys, we're going to talk about the actual prospects right now. So I'm putting up tape right now, and either you catch up or we kill your mic. You decide.
And yet it was the most watched Saturday of the draft ever.
I'm sure it's because of I'll be curious to see the numbers, because we'll see if it was because of all the international announcements. Maybe they were seen more globally. Maybe that's a factor that people aren't weighing in.
Your mileage may vary, as they say. I kind of touched on this earlier, Nick, kind of unrelated to this question. I just volunteered it on my own, but so I'll ask you from Albert, assuming 10 linemen make this roster, who would be your best bets on the 10 that make it?
I'm just going to go left to right, from left tackle to right tackle, and then back up behind it. Obviously, Jalen Moore is going to make it at left tackle. Left guard, Kingsley Suamataia. Center, Creed Humphrey. Then you got Trey Smith, and you got Jawan Taylor. So there's your 5. Now behind them, we'll see how they designate Josh Simmons, because in an ideal world, him being on NFI and PUP is just smart to give yourself an additional roster spot to do whatever you need to. Then I think they'll probably have Kelly Endo at left guard. I would have Hunter Norzad personally. Then center will either be Hansen or Norzad at that spot. Then right guard, Hansen or Norzad at that spot. Then backup right tackle, if I'm in their shoes. We'll see where Ethan Driscoll's at. And then we'll see kind of where Wanya Morris is at. And then after that, you're letting everybody else battle to see if they can get on that active 53, or if they have to be on practice squad for a little bit. Because like Essapol, he's going to be a good developmental offensive tackle, but you'll have to put him on practice squad. And unless he showcases himself too well in August, and then, I think you're going to make a decision on that front like they had to with Ethan Driscoll last year. Because if they had waived Ethan Driscoll, he would not be here right now. He would be on another NFL team and easily having a chance to potentially start this year somewhere else. So, yeah, I'd say those are your 11 right now, and we will see, around August time what happens. Because I'm not even going to say it.
Hey, and if you start looking too good in August and in a preseason game you accidentally show out, be a shame if something happened to your hamstring. That's all I'm saying.
Or snap counts, well, we've seen it.
Well, sometimes even snap counts going down is, a red flag. Teams are like, wait a minute, Chiefs trying to hide this guy. Let's go get him.
Maybe not. Who knows?
And and we talked about this, and I kind of wanted to bring it up, and just because I want everybody else to have to worry about it and everything. Not that I'm worried about it, but I guess I'm just creating worry for Chiefs fans where no worry otherwise would exist. We know that Mike Bergonzi is going to absolutely tear apart this team's roster cuts. And probably take like 6 or 7 guys.
Oh yeah, no, with Mike Bergonzi number 1 on the waiver wire, Mike Bergonzi is gonna go 2013 Chiefs and just take everybody. There's like Dorsey took a whole bunch of either John Schneider guys or just guys around the league. So yeah, no, I mean Mike Bergonzi, he's just waiting since he's got number 1 waiver claim. The Chiefs just might as well accept whoever goes off that, whoever they put on the waiver claim. Like Bergonzi's just waiting. Be like, yep, that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy.
Yeah, I can probably already think of like 10 guys that if they ended up on waivers, Mike Bergonzi's taking them. So yeah, that might influence things too. I mean, there might be a decision or two that you make differently just because you're like, you don't want Mike Bergonzi to steal that guy. So I love Charlie getting it. All 22 enthusiast Nick Jacobs. I need to use that sometime. I've never used that one.
Mm-hmm. Matt, Charlie just helped you out. You better
Thank
make
you,
sure
Charlie.
you give him credit when you do it. Okay.
I will need to do that.
Yeah.
Michael, who could possibly show up and show out from practice squad, future reserves that could make a huge difference? I kind of had this question a little bit earlier, Nick, and it was like that was just asked about maybe guys that are flying under the radar that we haven't talked about or don't get much attention that could show out and maybe make
And
a
I'm
make a.
assuming they mean from last year.
That's the way I understood.
That's the way we're going to go with it, because otherwise
Yes.
we're just doing redundancy from the guys they just got that haven't.
Exactly.
had a season.
That's how I interpret it. Is you know,
That's
guys
the way
are
we're going to
coming back.
interpret it too. So if that's not the way the questions or meant, I apologize, but that's the way we're going to do it. Like, I mean, like the guys that I'm going to be keeping tabs on personally is going to be, what does Ethan Driscoll do in the months ahead? What can he be? Can he take that next step to maybe be a backup right tackle, to maybe be a backup left tackle? Where is he at in his game? And then we'll see what the potential Bailey Zappi, Chris Oladokin thing, how that competition ends up working out down the road here. The guy who has been forgotten by a lot of people, Carson Steele. How does he respond to the fact they've got a much more crowded backfield there? And when the Chiefs potentially add a couple other running backs here, what ends up happening on that front? They're not really UDFAs or anything, but I know you've already talked about him. But like Fabian Lovett, what role does he have? And can he play? Do they want him to play one tech? Do they want him to be a 3 tech? What do they envision for him? I'm assuming potential 1 tech, because otherwise I don't think that you I think you probably could get another defensive lineman in the draft if you weren't comfortable with what you had combination wise there. So I'd say those are probably the biggest ones overall.
Yeah, I'll co-sign them all. I hadn't thought of Carson Steele, but I think you're right. I mean, how he responds and his development and with the competition will be interesting to me. Tyquan Thornton was one that certainly stood out to me, because we just haven't seen him in a Chiefs offense really, and this is going to be our first chance to get a look at him. And obviously things didn't work out in New England, but sometimes a change of scenery worked out well for guys. So that one would be interesting. And I'm definitely interested in, like you mentioned, I mean, Lovett and Driscoll, those guys, to see who can kind of break out will be interesting.
Because, I mean, from a wide receiver perspective, you're going to have Worthy, Hollywood, Rice as your top 3. Then you're going to have Royals and Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be your 4 or 5. And then, like you said, at that point, you're really, the 6th battle is between Thornton, like you talked about, Nico Remigio, Brownlee, Elijah Badger, the UDFA they got, the other kid from Fresno that they just got, Justin Ross, and then Sky Moore. So I mean, you've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7 people just purely competing for a potential 6 wide receiver spot.
Yep. Brian asking, do you see Null Williams making the 53? Absolutely. I mean, unless he gets hurt, absolutely. Yeah,
he's on the 53. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Nick probably won't answer this one, but Pepe, was your favorite player interview of all time? I think I've mentioned this before, and I will put the link in the video as well, just for the shameless views. But talking to Noah Wiley after the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and only because there's a couple of reasons. One was that the first time I interviewed Andrew Wiley was during his first camp in St. Joe, because he got in a fight with somebody. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody decent on the defense. I mean, it was probably like Justin Houston or Tamba Hali or something like that. Could have been Chris Jones. I don't remember, but that first camp, Andrew Wiley just got in a fight with anybody he could, because, Andrew Wiley was a throwback football player. He knew that the best way to show that, he belonged, that he needed to be there and everything, was to be as tenacious as he could possibly get. And he was, and to show that he wasn't afraid of anybody. And so he kind of fight with somebody, and I loved it. So I asked to interview him the next day and got him at a one-on-one and talked to him about that. And then I found out, that was the beginning of finding out that Andrew Wiley is just like one of the greatest dudes in the world. And so, I talked to him a lot over the years. And then after that game in Phoenix, I mean, he knew that was his last game for the Chiefs. Wins a Super Bowl, got the start. The previous one, he didn't get to play in. So this was, an emotional moment for him. And I was talking to him, and as I was talking to him, in just one of those incredible, strokes of luck, moments in time, Patrick Mahomes comes over to him and gives him a big hug. And they shared a little moment and talked and, whispered something to each other and everything. And then Patrick walks off, and Andrew just had this big smile on his face and is staring at Patrick as he walks off. And then he turns to me with that smile on his face, and he's just like, what were we talking about? I mean, even now it still gets me emotional and gives me goosebumps, because it was just, you can't script moments like that. No. And so it was just a moment in time, and I still remember that. I still remember the look on Andrew's face. And so, like I said, I'm going to put that clip there so just everybody else can see it too and enjoy it, because it was memorable. So everybody wants to know if your opinion of Royals has changed.
Well, I told you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. People are going to go for the one thing I didn't have on the board.
Yes, and Alex confirming, well, not the Bobby Ingram part, but the Chambers wearing 11 part.
He might have changed it at some point, but according to the initial roster, Bobby Ingram was 84 and Chambers was 11.
Uncle Charlie, Mike Bradway, Senior Director of Player Personnel, when discussing IDL picks, said the Chiefs repositioned their board. Do teams' draft boards change after each day, by round, by position, picks by position group? That's a term that teams use a lot, Nick, after after Thursday night's first round and after second and third. It's restacking the board. That's usually what we get told, and after the rounds, it's like, oh, hey, Brett can only spend like 10 minutes with you because he's got to go restack the board.
Mm-hmm.
So there is restructuring of it. I mean, we haven't gotten to be in the draft room, so I don't know what it looks like. I can take some guesses, but I don't know what it looks like.
My assumption would be that they take off the names of guys and put them in a pile where they've already either been picked or where they were or whatever. And they just show what's available, but I could be terribly wrong.
Well, and this would be a great question actually to ask Brett one day. So I'm going to have to put this on my list of questions to ask, because, I mean, my understanding is that they kind of do what you do, Nick, on your big board, which is that they're going to have players and they're going to have them listed by round, as far as like, hey, wait a minute, we think this guy is going to be a 5th round guy, or that's where they put them. They put them in the pick and say, okay, this is a guy that we think's like a 5th round guy. And part of the restacking might not be just taking guys off, but also reacting to the draft and saying, well, wait a minute, you know what? We had this guy, we had Null Williams, maybe we had him in the 4th round. Wait a minute, he's not going to last until then. The way that, the way this board's coming apart now. We're going to have to move him up. I don't know that's the case, but I could see that. But I really, no, I need to ask Brett about this, because I wonder what restacking the board means to him. Rick, were you guys sweating bullets like I was in the 7th round before they picked Brashard Smith?
No, I'd already given up at that point.
I had not given up, Nick. You know that I had not given up. I
already did. I gave up after the 5th round. I was like, well, that's pack up your 10 on that one.
Mitchell was hoping that they could get Damian Martinez too, and Brashard Smith for a 1-2 punch.
I am kind of intrigued what the reasoning will be for why Damian Martinez fell to the 7th round. I was actually very surprised by that one.
Yeah, it was another one. I mean, both those guys, that would certainly go earlier than that. Have you, Buck Fever Outdoors wants to know if you have recovered from the Ty Robinson going to Philadelphia.
I mean, I was bummed, but he's going to a good home there, Buck Fever. He's going to a good home. He's going to Philadelphia. He'll do great there.
It's going to a great home. I mean, that's not just some place upstate. That's not a nice farm upstate. That's a luxury mansion. John, any news on a stadium decision? I mean, really, the reality is no. I mean, Clark Hunt said some words on Friday, Nick, but they weren't really any different than words that have been said before. And they were kind of just, I couldn't even really seriously tell you what he said, because I felt like I was just hearing the same thing over and over again. And he was absolutely trying his best not to say anything that meant anything. And I mean that respectfully. I don't mean that derogatorily. I mean that they don't want to share anything yet. They don't have anything to share. And Clark wanted to meet the minimum word count to make sure that he said enough things that it looked like he said something without saying anything.
Well, there you go.
I won't ask you to sign off on that because once again, as do I still have that banner available?
It doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't matter, but every once in a while, I mean,
you're just really proud of the banner.
I'm really proud of the banner.
That's really all that is.
And I feel like, well, I mean, there's times it's truly appropriate because, I don't want to get you in trouble.
Oh, Matt. Oh, now your camera's back in focus. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
No, there you go.
All right, we're getting near the end, folks. So last call, especially since, we're already 8 minutes over. So Nick probably needs to take the trash out. And so do I. Susanna wants to know what makes you excited about Jake Breeningstool. I think we think it's Breeningstool. I need to figure out how to pronounce it for sure.
I bet he'll let us know on Sunday. He's got good size. He can make contested catches, and I think he's somebody that over time, if Mahomes gets to work with him, I think Mahomes would have a lot of confidence in him. Throwing him the ball, whether it's down by his hip like Mahomes did to Kelsey against Kyle Hamilton in the AFC Championship game, or putting it up high and knowing that he'll reliably make the catch. Brittany's still he's got reliable hands, and he's a big-bodied receiver. He's got long arms, and he can make the catches that are difficult, make him look routine. And so I think over time, Mahomes will build up his trust with him. He doesn't have the same level of athletic ability that Travis Kelce has, but he's in the ballpark. He's not far off. And for him to get the opportunity to be able to learn from Travis Kelce and hopefully have Travis Kelce kind of pass off that torch to him, this is the first tight end they've had that I feel like kind of really embodies who Travis Kelce is as a football player and is in the ballpark of who Travis Kelce was in the past as a football player. Again, athletic ability is going to be different, but I just think there's a lot of similarities between these two people. And I know somebody already said on Twitter whenever I talked about it, they're like, well, why did he go undrafted? Look, 4th through 7th round was weird in the draft this year. This is a weirder year in the draft to where there's people that I guarantee the Chiefs didn't have on their board that teams took in the 4th and 5th round. I guarantee there's people that the Chiefs took that other teams didn't have on their board at all. This was a unique year draft-wise, and that's why I've been asking the question about NIL when I asked Brett Veach about it, and I know Blair asked Veach about it. And the reason I'm asking that is because this is where you're seeing that impact. In that 4th through 7th round in the past, some of those guys that are still in school or have transferred to other schools, and that's pushed down some of it to where it's not unified in terms of everybody seeing the same level of athlete and the same level of this guy's a 4th rounder, this guy's a 5th rounder. You're not having that same uniform nature anymore because most of those guys, and I know people want to battle about this, but that refreshes every year. So I don't think this is changing anytime soon. It refreshes every year because, for example, if you go look at the big board for 2026 right now, some of the top running backs, they just transferred to the school that they're at now. There was a kid that's going to be this running back at Oklahoma this year. He was at Cal. I think he was at Cal last year. I was watching highlights of him at Cal, and he's going to go be at Oklahoma this year. Because teams, the thing that's happening in college football that's causing the struggle is you have players that they now know there's opportunities for them to play elsewhere, even if it's smaller or whatever. As long as they put themselves, think of it this way. Say there's a player. They are a 4 or 5-star recruit, maybe 3-star recruit. It doesn't matter, but they get a chance to go to the SEC. Go to the SEC. They're on the team. Maybe they get some playing time their freshman year. Maybe they stick around to their sophomore year. But then they don't like the fact they're not getting the same level of playing time. Then they go transfer somewhere else. They've at least put themselves on NFL and scouting radars because they were able to go to one of those schools. And then they go to a smaller school, they go somewhere else, get more playing time, get the reps, but they got the coaching that they needed from, one of those top end schools that really kind of helped set their path in their career and everything. So from a player perspective, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been harping on. That I don't think it's been able to translate as easily for me to you. Is players now get more of an opportunity to invest in themselves, both financially and in opportunities. So for teams around the country, that's going to be tough, man. So for like, you take somebody like, for example, everybody keeps talking about Omar Lott. Like, you know, Matt and I have been talking about, he's a rotational guy and everything. But how many other rock star defensive linemen do they have there? How many, you know, the thing that Belichick's going to find out this year down in North Carolina is how many mouths they have to feed. Like, how many players want to play and want to earn for NIL, that want their money, that want their playing time. And then with him and Michael Lombardi, you're going to deal with this after this upcoming year, is how many players are not satisfied with what they got. That, you know, those guys are not satisfied with the playing time or the money, and then they're going to dip out. But they'll have at least got that year of learning how to prepare under Bill Belichick, how something should be run, how something should go, and then they move on to the next thing. So you get more college football, in my opinion, is kind of more of a mercenary thing now than it used to be. And I think that's where, when we go up to the NFL level, that's where it gets interesting, because now all it takes think about this in a round. Let's just say, rough estimate, a round has 32 if there's no comp picks. Now we add another round on. That's 64 players. Now we add another round on. That's 96 players. Just 96 players who would have come out in the past stick around because of NIL, or they transfer for a new opportunity. That's affected 3 rounds of the draft. So what I'm getting at is, like, everybody's locked in on, well, this person said this person at this round grade. This person, why was this player undrafted? Why is this guy this? It's because of NIL. And it's because of the transfer portal. All that's collected together, and that has altered the rounds, and that will continue to alter the rounds more than people give it credit for.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, and a great example of the, I mean, and this is less about NIL, but certainly more about the transfer portal. I mean, the Chiefs have a great example of that they, you know, they're bringing in for the rookie mini camp, Elijah Young, where I think he ended up at Western Kentucky. He was at Mizzou and transferred out of Mizzou because, you know, the Mizzou had Cody Schrader transfer in, and they overlapped 1 year at Mizzou, and it was obviously pretty obvious he was going to be behind Schrader for 23. So, you know, he transfers out. But Mizzou also had a ton of other guys. I think Marcus Carroll was already there. I don't know if they'd already recruited Nate Noel, but, you know, I think Tyler Beatty was already already too. So they were loaded, and transfers out. Now he's in the NFL because of it. A year ago, nobody had Brashard Smith on their draft board. For all these early, you know, 2025 drafts and everything like that, everything you're seeing right now for 2026, a year ago right now, no one had Brashard Smith, because at that point, he was still just a wide receiver buried on the depth chart in Miami.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the other thing, is just how quickly things can change now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw out one just minor note, or at least observation, that I think we saw a positive of that this year. I think we're going to see the negative of it going forward. But like Ashton Gelati gets a lot of points from his character standpoint because of the donating his NIL money to charity.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about this earlier, Nick. I sure wouldn't have done that when I was in college. I mean, I had a little bit extra money in college, and I spent it on the Sega Genesis. I wasn't giving it to charity. So I'm certainly not Ashton Gelati, but you're going to get guys, and maybe this is going to make drafts better, because, and I think it was Omar Kelly, that's one of the beat writers in Miami. I saw him tweet about this and just talking about drafts. And one of the things he said is that you can just be guaranteed that for almost every team, not every team, because some teams do a better job of weeding this stuff out, but for every team in their draft class, one player in their team is going to wash out because of money, friends, girlfriends, something. I mean, there's going to be off the field distractions or issues and money distractions that wash them out. You're going to start seeing that happen in college, where guys are washing out because they get the NIL money, and either they get fat and happy, they get satisfied, or money gets them into trouble. I mean, you know, Shiloh Sanders survived, you know, bankruptcy to make it into the NFL, but not everybody's going to be Shiloh Sanders. But there's going to be guys who might get into money trouble, and instead of washing out in the NFL because they spent their money too fast, and they wash out in college because they spent their money too fast. All right, we have now officially reached the longest live stream in channel history. So
we've done another one or two.
Christine, Rashard Smith's size is similar to Jamal Charles and Jamar Gibbs. If he develops in pass pro, do you think he can eventually be an every down back, or his ceiling more likely a third down back? I mean, I think that's his floor, but
all right. Here's the first thing I'm going to say that's not going to be popular. When you have speed like that, you better not be unpass protected. That level of speed should not be pass protected. That level of speed should be ready in the flats for a check down. That level of speed should be ready for a screen pass, halfback toss, counter, you name it. There's no reason that the speed like that should be just like, hey, yeah, we're going to keep you on pass protection. You can fake it. That's fine. Or you can use one of the 4 tight ends on your roster and let them, help at that level and have 6 people blocking. But there's absolutely no reason speed like that. Because if that's what you're going to do, then if I'm an opponent, I just keep bringing a linebacker. So then I eliminate that speed out in the flats.
Yeah.
So I take away that from you. So I get that people I know pass protections can be a priority, and I know it can be great and everything, but I'm just telling you, like, if that's what's going to happen, then okay, we'll just motion Smith out to the trip side or to the other side and let him run a route.
Yeah, that's
wasting speed. That's just wasting speed.
You make a legitimate point there. I mean, I can't really argue with it. I mean, I know that there's going to be a consideration about him being a third down back this year, but if he's the third down back, you're right. He should just absolutely be going out in the pass pattern, not staying in for protection.
What's speed that moves the chains?
Yeah. And if anything, I mean, that should be the guy that if, you do bring a linebacker on a blitz that he's supposed to be picking up, well, he should also be beyond that linebacker at that point, being able to catch a ball in space. So there's some catch 22 there. Darren, Roland Wallace really came on at the end of last year. Does he fend off Mike Edwards for a spot? I mean, it's going to be competitive. I mean, there's going to be probably 9 or 10 defensive backs on this team, and there's probably going to be even less delineation between who's a corner and a safety going forward. I saw even the Chiefs count, today talking about, I think Jalen, they were using Jalen Watson's, look at our cornerback room and including Shamari Connor in the conversation. He was technically a safety, but he's as he says, he's a defensive back. So
no, they created competition in the cornerback room. We will, definitely McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, Null Williams. Those guys are going to be in the mix. And then Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson are going to be in the mix, and they're going to be competing. And then we'll see what Robert Rochelle and Eric Scott end up doing. And then any of the other guys they brought in is UDFAs. We'll see what they do and where they potentially are. And we, like you said, from a nickel perspective, then on top of that, you've got Jamari Connor, you've got Chris Roland Wallace, you got Darius Rush, and then you've got Kevin Knowles, one of the college free agents. So, that's just a corner. When you throw in the safety, then at that you've got Brian Cook and Hicks as your starters, Deion Bush and Mike Edwards backing them up, and then Jason Taylor. So there's really not much else you're going to be able to add other than what you've got from college free agents and draft. Like you've got a pretty stacked room. You're going to take the best, probably 10 to 11. That's going to be that.
And I would say if you're able to get like a guy like a Chris Roland Wallace onto your practice squad, then your cornerback room is going to be in pretty good shape, because now you got a guy that, hey, if you need it, you get injuries. Roland Wallace has proven he can play.
Sorry, Matt.
He's going to end up in Tennessee.
That's why I started shaking my head. I'm like, I'm sorry, Matt.
That's where I was going with it. I'm like, that dude's going to end up in Tennessee if you're on the waiver wire.
You already went to Mike Bergonzi. Thanks for playing, though.
T. Smith, who I can only assume is Trey Smith, and so thank you for watching, Trey. The best question about Jalen Royals. Wait, Nick doesn't like the Royals?
He's talking about baseball. That's what he's saying.
I know. That's why I thought it was funny.
No.
I guess I thought it was funnier than you.
You don't realize how many times I've been asked that question at this point.
Well, I know, but that's why I thought it was funny, because that wasn't technically the question. I just like clever wordplay. Okay. Pete, does Sky Moore make the roster? It's going to be a tough battle.
You got a very uphill battle against 6 other guys.
That's what I would say as well. I mean, he's on the outside looking in right now. Chris, is there any team draft that would cause you to do a rant on?
No, we're running out of time, and I'm not really. I don't really care what anybody else did.
I already did my Cleveland Brown quarterback rant, so I could have done a rant on everything about the Cleveland Browns, but I limited it to just the quarterbacks this time.
I like that one.
Which one?
That one right there that you just picked.
Do you guys think the Chiefs could trade for Hall from the Jets? Don't think we should, but they'd be something if they did.
Probably remove that now.
So what do you think?
Minus that typo.
Don't think that was a typo.
Sorry. I just read it through. Yeah. In terms of, I mean, I'm curious to see what the asking price would be for Hall. And then the next question becomes, how much time does he have? I'm trying to think, because he tore the ACL, and I think he was back last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what he's got.
Well, he tore the ACL in 22, right?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember back now how much he's got left on his contract.
1 year.
Oh, so that's why. Okay.
Yeah, it's his contract year.
Yeah, contract year. Well, I would be curious what the asking price is. Because it hypothetically it buys you some time to get Brashard Smith up to a certain level, and then it allows you to kind of figure out everything in your running back room. I'm not against them adding another running back. If I'm in their shoes, I still would. Just because the way the Chiefs running backs get injured when a season happens, and it seems to happen every year. I would not be against them adding one more running back between now and September. So I'm intrigued. That's all I can say.
There you go. I wouldn't give up. Here's the thing. I wouldn't want to give up draft capital for Breece Hall. But here's a thought for you. Would you give up Isaiah Pacheco for Breece Hall?
I would want to look at the tape. But I think the Jets are wanting picks, not players.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I would not be willing to give up much for a running back in the last year of their contract. But your mileage may vary. Last time I'm going to use it today.
No, it isn't. You'll use it again.
Uncle Charlie, do you plan to take some time off soon? Appreciate your hard work and dedication producing content at 2 a.m. after working your other jobs. I mean, this is my job, so I can't really thank Nick much more because he's the one that's putting in the overtime. And I don't usually take much time off as much as that I just don't work very hard sometimes to for my time off.
Oh.
I work for myself, Nick. I'm allowed to say that.
You can say whatever you want, man.
But Nick, I know you take off time for December's to remember. I don't remember you ever actually taking any other time off.
Maybe I don't tell you.
Maybe
I just disappear.
It's entirely possible.
Nope.
I mean, it seems unlikely, but it's entirely possible.
Like I said, maybe I just disappear and nobody knows.
But you don't go off the radar for very long or very often, though. So
you'll never know.
I mean, now I feel like I need to start tracking you, but
why would you do that?
I mean, mostly for amusement, but it's not like I need to know where you're at all times.
What are you, my parole officer?
Exactly. I don't need to know.
Get out of here, man.
So you have a parole officer, is what you're saying? I hear you saying.
No.
Kidding people. Patrick, now that the draft is over, do you guys see Veach making any big moves for the team before camp? Also, will you guys take any time off? Everybody wants us to take time off, Nick. I like this.
I think this is their way of saying they don't want the Q&A anymore. I think that's what I'm hearing people say. I'm hearing people say they don't want the podcast or Q&A anymore.
That is not what they're saying, Nick.
Nope, that's exactly what they're saying, Matt.
I think they might be saying that they don't want any more 2 a.m. podcasts and where you feel like you need to bail me out not because I'm forgetting people's names at 2 a.m.
That sounds like they're wanting the podcast and Q&A to go away for a little bit.
I have
The
many
people
more.
have spoken, Matt.
I have many more questions and comments that I could put up suggesting that they want more content. So
Patrick's spoken for the people. In terms of big moves, I mean, signing Trey Smith a long-term deal and maybe Trent McDuffy, I think, will be the two biggest moves going forward that I think they would love to get done before training camp. I think they would probably love to get Trey done before June is over, if they could. That's what I would want if I were in their shoes. And then after that, then you try to figure out how to get Trent McDuffy done. And with what money you saved on Trey Smith per year, with it not being as big as his franchise hit if you don't have to, then I would store that aside for if you do need to make a roster move or a trade once the season starts and maybe there's a position where a lot of injuries happen or something happens and you have to be able to maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, we're past the deadline where players will qualify for the compensation formula if you sign them as a free agent. So there's always a few moves after that. I mean, it's nothing usually, major, because at this point, most of the players who have gone unsigned, I mean, the Chiefs only have, I think, 3 players that went unsigned that, a team could sign now and they would not qualify for the compensation formula. That was Jody Fortson, DJ Humphries, who did sign today with the San Francisco 49ers, and Carson Wentz. I mean, I haven't gone through the complete list of players who are now, non-compensation free agents, but I don't feel like there's anybody out there that's a big, huge name that, I mean, would make this team significantly better. I mean, defensive tackle might be the one spot where I think that they could use somebody, but again, I mean, maybe the Chiefs feel better about what they have in-house as it is. We just haven't seen Fabian Lovett. We haven't got to see, Jerry Tillery in this team. Maybe they feel like they've got enough pieces. I mean, I feel like that's still the one position where maybe they're body short, but maybe they like what they've got.
Well, and as you and I both know, at times the Chiefs will let everything ride out during OTAs and minicamp and then make a decision like, hey, we probably need to add at this spot and this spot before training camp. So in terms of any additions, that's what I would say to you, because I know people like timelines and everything. I would say after the end of June into early July, that's when, or not early July, but late July before camp starts, if there is somebody that they're going to add on before camp at a position, that seems like the most likely range normally. So I think first domino, Trey Smith long-term deal. Second domino is after June if they potentially want to add somebody between then until late July. Third domino is trying to see if we can get something done with Trent McDuffy in that middle June to pretty much all of July, before camp begins, July range.
There you go. Christine has a really good point, which is that we had a long conversation about Rashard Smith and pass pro, but we never really answered her question, which is, do we think he can be an every down back at some point? And I think the answer there is an enthusiastic and emphatic yes.
How dare you ask me that question? Rashard Smith is a saint. No, long term, I think that's the hope. That's what you want him to be, but I think short term right now, you want him to be a guy you get the ball to in the flats and kind of on screen passes and kind of utilize him to help maintain and move the sticks and maybe have some home run runs here and there that are magically going to be based off Tyreek's previous counters and other plays that Tyreek's run. And I will find those after we're done with this Q&A and I will post them. And I will say, I wonder if we'll see these again. And then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about with the context without me mentioning any names. And the other thing I do want to say, for some reason, people keep trying to compare Rashard Smith to Isaiah Pacheco. Like, they keep trying to associate them together because of the the position coaches or whatever. They're two different running backs. They're very different running backs. Like, Rashard, the way he can cut, the way he can cut back, the vision he has, the explosiveness he has, the stop-start he has, that is completely different than Pacheco's style. Pacheco is a north-south runner, try to run over some people, run in as fast as he can like he's starting a Flintstones car, stomping the feet. Like, that's who Pacheco is. And, so, I mean, Pacheco's lateral quickness, that's always kind of been, kind of that's kind of been a weakness for him, and that's not his fault. That's just how he's built athletically. But Smith is different in terms of going to the perimeter, getting the edge, and cutting back in terms of speed and being able to maintain a certain pace running style. So like they're just two different backs, and I keep hearing people try to compare them in the same way, and I'm like, oh, that's like saying, hey, I've got this apple, I've got this strawberry, they're the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally from the supposed pitch that Coach Lashley that SMU made that to convince Rashard Smith to change positions and transfer, and I think a little bit of it is just that I did not know this. I guess Isaiah Pacheco has got a nice reputation amongst young college running backs that want to be just like Isaiah Pacheco, which. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being just like Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, he's been a good running back. I just didn't know that there was this much of a, clamor at the college level to be like Pacheco. But apparently that was a successful pitch. But I mean, and here's the way I feel about running backs, at least, is that running backs are the one thing that you typically just don't have to develop. Let's face it. I mean, it's a get the ball and run. Running at any level is pretty much the same. And if you don't have patience by now and you don't have those skills, I don't think you're ever going to learn them. So, that's a little bit of the reason why, I mean, you've always seen rookie running backs come into the NFL and be able to play immediately. I mean, it's probably the one position that is the easiest because running the football is the same everywhere. I mean, blocking schemes are going to be a little different. Plays will be different, but running the football is just running the football. So, I think Rashard Smith can be a starting running back in the league. I think he could be one right now if they need him. I mean, I don't think he needs a whole lot of seasoning, but it's just going to be if he's good enough or not.
And the other thing I want to say, the reason I was so big on Rashard Smith is because, and I remember people saying this during our Q&As, and people kept getting upset with me when I said the Chiefs really need an explosive back when I was talking about that before the trade deadline. And the reason I kept saying that, and you saw it end up unfolding, is there was going to be a point where what they were doing with Kareem and the power run game just wasn't going to work anymore. It was going to be taken away. And with the way that offensive line was, they're just not – they need somebody that, as I want to credit Herbie Teope on, that's an eraser. And I'm going to use it a little bit differently than Herbie would talk about, but I still want to recognize him for it. Is an eraser is an individual that doesn't need the perfect blocking. They're not reliant on their blocking. So whenever I do these big boards and I put what running backs that I like, the guys like Rashard Smith, I love because they don't need perfect blocking. It doesn't have to. The offensive linemen don't have to have perfect technique. The offensive linemen don't always have to be in position. And the same thing was true for Tyreek Hill and Jamal Charles. Because at the end of the day, if you have the right amount of speed, it eliminates pursuit angles. It eliminates the opportunities for defenses to be able to get in a position to be able to take away that corner or to be able to take away that cutback. In the words of Gerard Dyson, that's what speed do. So with somebody like Rashard, who I feel like is in that ballpark of those guys, what Jamal was so unique with, his ability to lean and still maintain. He could lean, he could weave, and he had body control that was insane. But he was able to maintain that speed, and other running backs can't. That was a rare trait that he had, and the vision he had to be able to cut back and decelerate and then accelerate again, and just the way he could throttle back and then throttle all the way back up if he needed to. Like, Jamal just had this vision to be able to weave through a defense without even needing a blocker. Like, he just had that about him. Tyreek's like, I'm going to hit the nitro boosters and just outrun you. And for Rashard Smith has some of that, and you've seen that if you watch some of his games. He can turn it on. And once you give him just a little bit of room to be able to hit that top end, boom, done, gone. And over time, with the strength training that the Chiefs have and him getting just to acclimate to the NFL and learn from it, I think that continually improves to where long-term you would love for him to be a feature back. You would love for him to kind of be the guy, but him being able to bulk up and withstand some of the hits he's going to take over time, that'll determine his time in this league in terms of how long it can last.
Okay, Nick, I am going to do something that is either going to be genius or stupid. I can't quite decide which yet. And I will be glad to put up the disclaimer if you need it. But I asked ChatGPT for some help.
Oh boy.
So I'm blaming ChatGPT.
I have a pretty good idea. It's going to be one of three things that you're doing.
Okay, well, what do you
Chris,
think?
lightning round hasn't existed for over a year.
What do you think? What is your prediction then, I guess, for what it's going to be?
It's a T-shirt that until the pads come on, or some T-shirt like that.
No, that is incorrect.
I don't know, Matt. Let's get going, man. I still haven't had dinner yet.
It's Isaiah Pacheco in his Flintstones car. Aren't you glad you stuck around for that?
I am. I'm sorry. This is the first thing that popped in my head. Is I'm like, this is gonna be copyrighted somehow digitally, and it's gonna be a problem. I'm just used to that type of stuff.
Well, there you go. I'll send that to you just so you have it in case you ever need it.
Thanks, Matt. So kind of you.
Oh dear. And then I went too far back. And hey, just so you know, Mitchell says that his wife will not be happy with his depression if we stop doing the podcast. So you can't cut back on the podcast. If anything, it sounds like Mitchell needs us to step it up a little bit. So
it's all right, Mitchell. Just go buy some of the graphic T-shirts from Crazy Dogs, and I'll pick your spirits up.
Mizzou 19. When if Trey and McDuffy are signed, what are the chances that the contracts are front loaded?
All right, Matt. Well, hey, I want you to do before we get out of here. You might as well just do a Chat GPT about until the pads come on T-shirt. Give me another chance to practice your multitasking.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you, Mizzou 19. I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs don't do a ton of front-loaded contracts. They'll do it in a way that would structure them around all the other money that they've got going out. So, I mean, hey, it'll be like anything else. A lot of the money would be in the first probably 3 years of the deal. I mean, McDuffy, it would be more likely just to be pushing it into like 27, 28, 29 because he's already got, money slated for 25 and 26. Obviously, there'd be some signing bonus, but Chiefs do different things depending on the situation, and it's all about making sure that the puzzle pieces all fit. So I have got to get a question for Nick so I can go tell ChatGPT to make me a T-shirt. What can we ask Nick? Oh, there you go. Pepe! If you couldn't have Andy as your coach, what other AFC West coach would you want for the Chiefs? Let's see. You're just going to sit there quietly because it's Pepe?
I already drew my line in the sand like an hour ago, man. So we're just going to hear you type.
There you go. Although you will all be happy to know I have a new quiet keyboard that I need to set up that will hopefully not be as loud on podcast and live streams. I mean, I guess I would say, if you couldn't have Andy Reid, wouldn't you go with her for Harbaugh probably? Nick's not even going to go there. Harbaugh, final answer. Chris, I don't think I've ever seen Nick speechless. Have we caught up to the questions? I feel like I must have missed a lot of questions because I feel like we shouldn't have caught up, although it is 9:41, so we should have caught up by now.
I would hope so.
So I'm trying to find you another question so that I can type more. And all I have is Pepe and Pete asking about Sky Moore. Okay, Nick, would you like to take Weston's off there and just talk about Sport Coffee for a few seconds?
No, Matt. I'm good. It's all right, man. If you don't have it tonight, you don't have it tonight. Let's save it for another day.
Oh no, at this point we're riding this into the ground.
Oh wow, New Jay with SSJ showing up here in the show. Wonder if that's Steven or Jake. I don't know. I don't know if it's Steven or Jake. I don't know. But I love that New Day with SSJ's on.
There you go. I'm pretty sure that'd be Steven, right? Could be Jake.
Maybe. I don't know. Could be. They could both have, Oh,
no. Sean Payton. Sean Payton with 15 would be fascinating. There is no doubt about
Sean
that.
Payton would love that too.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah. See, it's Jake. Hi, Jake.
Jake.
See, I told you. I thought it was Jake. The mock draft king, man. He's just out there running a board, which I know is hard multitasking, doing mock drafts, talking, man. He's able to multitask, Matt. Okay,
I'm impressed. Jake is up this late, considering he's got to be on air at 6 a.m.
That's true. Jake has got to be on.
And he's got more work to do before that, even. So
I don't envy those guys having to get up that early for a show.
And I wish that I see what ChatGPT is doing here. It's my gosh, this is terrible.
All right, Matt. Well, we'll have to save it for another show, okay?
Well, no, I mean we're gonna see
Matt,
it.
It's almost 9:45, man.
Tell Kyle how optimistic he's being.
You keep trying to make me stall. Just because you're gonna, dude. I know you. You're not gonna find the right one in the next 4 to 5 minutes, Matt. No, Jake, you and Steven are the best. So, do you see the O-line being a top tier in the next 3 years or sooner? Or just, I don't know, Kyle. I mean, I feel like this is another roundabout way of asking me the same thing about their coaching. So,
but
hopefully they'll be
not
great.
About the coaching.
Hopefully they'll be great.
All right, we're working on a second draft because I was not happy with the first
Matt,
draft.
I'm sorry. We've run out of time, just like Matt Damon.
So here is draft 1, which unfortunately is also being covered up by my graphics. So we're going to have to pull the graphics for a moment.
Weston, don't worry, Weston. I will leave. I'm not saying another 45 minutes, man.
Oh no, but Nick and I both had to get the trash out. So
really, I think one of us has more urgency on that front than the other right now.
Which one of us?
I don't know, Matt. Matt, we got dead air. This is the worst thing you can have for a producer.
It is. Which NFL coaches are on the hot seat?
People just trying to stall for Matt at this point.
Okay, ChatGPT is letting me down here.
That's fine. Well,
all I'm saying.
With that, I apologize to Matt Damon. We ran out of time, and I apologize to Matt's ChatGPT that we ran out of time.
Because I mean, the last time I asked ChatGPT to do something, and then I asked him for a separate, updated version with I just wanted to do the exact same thing with a correction, and it didn't do that. It gave me a completely new version. This time I said, "Hey, can you give me a different version of that?" And all it did was give me the exact same thing on a different background. ChatGPT is really letting me down.
Matt, you're 15 minutes away from doing a full 3 hours. 14 now. 14 now. There's a reason I come in at the time I do now.
Well, I noticed that. Yes. All right, folks, we are going to get out of here because both of us, mostly me, I guess, has to do trash, and I still have a deadline I have to write for. So,
yeah, you act like that's not a big deal. I still got to do the Emmy stuff tonight, and I got to get those submitted, and I still got to do laundry, and still got to get the trash out and recycle them.
Okay, well then, I guess we're both really, really hosed here.
No, I just got things that got to get done.
All right. Well, thank you to Nick Jacobs for, as always, putting up with my nonsense. Thank you to all of you for your great questions tonight and having some fun.
Good luck next week.
Hopefully Pepe will be part of the show next week.
Part of the show. You took 8 of his questions, man.
Well, hopefully Pepe will get more answers next week if he's nice.
He'll still get the same amount of answers from you.
Rookie minicamp this weekend, Nick. We need to figure out when we're going to do the podcast because we're going to be at rookie minicamp on Sunday.
I already thought about that, and yeah, you and I were. It won't be till Sunday afternoon or evening right now.
Oh, you think at best?
What?
You think at best?
Well, I mean, it depends what time we get off the. Well, one, it depends what time we get off the practice field.
Well, I know that's what I'm afraid of. Is that what if we run too much into the late afternoonish and.
No, we're going to. That's the
I
thing.
know, and that's why I'm worried. Like it's going to be like 2 a.m.
And then it's not going to be 2 a.m. But I got Sunday sound off after.
I know.
Yeah,
you got a sportscast and something sound off.
I got my actual job.
I know. I mean, it wouldn't be 2 a.m. I mean, we might start at midnight.
We wouldn't start at midnight either. It'll be fine.
All right.
But I'm telling you, we definitely are not doing it at 11 a.m.
This is my way of telling everybody you're going to get. Great thing is you're going to get your 41 is the Mic podcast on Sunday. It's going to be a little later than usual, but that's
much
good.
Later than usual, yeah.
Much later than usual, because even if we recorded a decent hour, Nick's still got to edit it and render it out and everything. So
yeah, the editing is not hard. It's just the amount of time we talk. That determines how quickly I get it turned around.
That could be the problem. So it'll be much later than usual, but you will get rookie mini camp insights.
I'm 100% sure Matt's just trying to drive this to 10 o'clock at this point.
I'm actually not, because I too want to leave. I didn't want to say that because I don't
pop up Jake's. Jake's answering for somebody. Jake's being kind and helping us out and answering. Thank you, Jake.
Yo.
Great producer right there.
And Stefanski's in the hot seat because Shadour's going to put him in the hot seat, but and Mike McDaniel, because apparently half his team wants him fired right now.
I don't know. That's not what the NFLPA report card said.
Well, they love it. Well, that's true. I mean, I guess it depends on who fills out the survey.
The NFLPA report card is normally a year behind what's actually going on.
There's that
organization or facility.
Yes.
Well, don't forget, guys, watch New Day with SSJ.
There you go.
Visit ChiefsDigest.com.
And especially because I will be talking to Jake at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
8:30. Wow.
Yes.
I'll be awake to be able to listen.
There you go. So
get my oil changed at that time. So I will listen, Matt, and I will be judging.
Maybe. You'll be judging. I appreciate
Not
that.
really. I'll just listen.
Well, you should be.
Then I'm going to go get breakfast afterwards.
And now who's stalling?
I'm not. You can wrap this thing up at any point. I will hit the Leap Studio button at any point for you.
All right. So barring anything crazy happening, yes, the next time we will see you will be Sunday for 41 is the Mic. Unless you join me on the radio tomorrow morning on New Day with SSJ and Jake Gutierrez at 8:30. But join him at 6 o'clock because that's when the show starts. And then you're supposed to listen until 10. And Mike Boddicker is usually on Wednesdays, and Bods is the best.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then Mick Schaefer's on at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays.
There you go. Just
on the
listen
zone
throughout the day. Good night, Jake. Thank you very much. You're much too kind. All right, everybody, we're gonna get out of your hair. Have a great week. Enjoy yourselves. We will, like I said, join you on Sunday with some insights from rookie mini camp, and be back here next Tuesday. So
it's post-draft season.
And